This is type.
Oh, then this is us.
This is us.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Encounter Roleplay. My name is Will. I'm a D&D sex icon and the world's greatest role player. I'm here today for yet another game.
No, you don't get both, dude. No.
Yes, my friends. Yes, I am. I don't give out these titles. I just receive them. But I'm here today for another fun episode of the World Tree Burns. God, what episode is this? Like 10, 11? Goodness, we're
12,
sir.
Friends. Episode 12.
Holy mackerel. Well, shit, let's get into it, my friends, because it's been like 2 or 3 weeks since we've played. So let's get into this episode. Let's go around a cast and crew and remind ourselves of who we are and who we're playing. We have our illustrious Dungeon Master, Dan Dillon, with us tonight. Dan, how's it going, my friend?
Greeting, everyone. I am doing fantastic. I've been missing you guys. I've been missing this game. I'm super excited to be back. It's been like 3 weeks since we played, and I can't wait to get into it. So, I will be your Dungeon Master for this evening. We'll be diving into the world of Midgard from Kobold Press. We are currently based in this free city of Zobek, the city of gears, and we're going to see what shenanigans are happening in the Cartways Black Market tonight.
Absolutely fantastic. We also have Laura Lani with us tonight. Tia, how's it going?
It's great, and I've been having the best week ever, and I am super excited to be here and playing Kari, my level 3 cleric of the cat domain, who is a shadow fae. It has actually been like a full month since I've been on the show, because I believe I missed the week that we actually played, and I have been dying to play this game. You don't have your creature codex? Got it! It is awesome! This game.
Thank you.
There it is.
Oh, there it is.
Awesome.
Yes.
Fantastic. We also have McLoken back with us tonight. How's it going, my friend?
When you ask the question, who are we? And I really want to delve deep into that. So for the rest of the show, let's talk about philosophy. Hi, I'm joking. Let's not talk about philosophy because we're going to get nowhere. Hi, everyone. I'm McLoken. Today, I'll be playing the half-orc cloak who talks like this, and I'm super excited. Which is not true. I'm playing Clark, and I'm excited to play him. And he's a Nihheim gnome, the exact opposite of a half-orc that does not exist in Midgard. And we go from there. But I'm trying to remember where we left off. It's only been 2 weeks, but you know what? I'm refreshed and ready to go, and I'm ready to sacrifice people.
Yeah,
sure.
That's the natural thing to do when you haven't been at it for 2 weeks. Got to sacrifice some people to get back into Dungeons and Dragons, as one does. We have Tool School back with us tonight. School, how's it going, my friend?
I am doing great. I'm like everyone else. I'm so excited to get back into Midgard. I love Midgard. I've got my creature codex. I've been looking at fun things for my own campaigns, and also knowing that our good buddy Dan is probably going to be throwing some of these things at me. I'm a little bit terrified, but in a good way. So I am playing Glaz, who is our geomancer. He is, in fact, a trollkin, which does exist in this world because there are not half-orcs. And he just got to finish playing a wonderful night of all kinds of games at the brothel with his new friend, Valia, who is a courtesan who plays all the games. So he has had a quite fulfilling evening of gaming with his new friend.
He did pay for the most skilled companion.
I did.
Oh boy. Well, last but not least, we have Josh with us tonight. Josh, how's it going?
It's going good. Something occurs to me. If he paid for the most skilled companion, she's the most skilled, the greatest player. Is it just Will and Drag? Just saying. I
mean, that's going to require deeper investigation.
I'm not. I do not volunteer. I put Squall forward as tribute. Speaking of putting other people first, my name is Josh, and I will be playing Kane, who likes to let everyone else do the talking and the interacting, and he just sort of is following the party. He's a Dampier ranger who has very few good things to say about the rest of his fellow travelers. He's an old friend of Reardon's, and is in constant competition with Carrie, who considers herself a hunter, but she's losing terribly in this competition. So I'm looking forward to putting another notch. You killed 2 people in this campaign. In this whole campaign. Anyway, that's
I
me.
also-
Yeah, that's true.
Oh boy.
Shots have been fired, my friends. As myself, I'll be playing Riodan, a Dampier cleric, whose sole purpose is to have fun and to enjoy himself. And he's certainly having a good time thus far with his friends. Certainly last night was a fun interaction for him, watching Glaz get involved in the fuck house. So he's looking forward to what else may happen with this team. But Dan, before I hand over to you and before we remind ourselves what happened last time on the show, I'll quickly remind you guys that, of course, we're sponsored here today by Kobold Press. Check out Kobold Press, our creature codex. Gotta check it out. And, of course, all of the Midgard materials that we are using and playing here. Go to koboldpress.com to check those guys out. And keep an eye out for a bunch of videos that are coming out this week on Encounter Roleplay's YouTube channel with interviews with many of the Kobold Press folks, including our very own Dan Dillon. And of course, fantasygrounds.com is our virtual tabletop of choice that we'll be using today. You can check out their demo licenses for free. whalingames.co.uk is a go-to destination for role-playing games, tabletop games, war games, board games. Check them out for up to 20% off the retail value. And last but not least, tabletoploot.com are sponsoring the show. Every show we give away a set of dice. At the end of tonight's show, we'll be giving away 2 sets of tabletop loot dice. So stick around and be in chat to be eligible to win. And of course, you can interact with today's show by tweeting, subscribing, and of course, donating to give players Nat 1s, Nat 20s, Wild Magic Surges, and Leroy Jenkins. But I will hand back to Dan to remind us of what's been going on the past couple of weeks on the show.
All right. So I believe where we left off, it's been a little while, so let's dredge back into the mists of history, is that various... let's see, the party had kind of split up throughout Zobek and had various different tasks to take care of since returning from the lost halls of Everforge in the depths of the Margrave Forest. I believe you had commissioned the smith, the dwarven smith Paula Everforge, to manage a few custom pieces for you. She completed Riodan's armor finally, so he can wear his plate without any sort of detriment. And she did so free of charge for the low price of saving her life from a dragon. She also took one of that flame dragon's scales and forged it along with the 2 great canine teeth of our dearly departed Fluff and Stuff the bear, and fashioned those into a new mask, evoking sort of a draconic visage for our Niemheim gnome cloak. He now wears that dragon scale and bear tooth mask, which is just all kinds of badass. Then we had some shenaniganry at the Wheat Sheaf Tavern, which is one of the seedier locations in all of Midgard. If you need a smuggler or you want to hire some muscle, cheap, maybe not necessarily the most competent, but probably the cheapest muscle, you go to the Wheat Sheaf. And I believe our Dampier spent a lot of time doing a little bit of a honeypot trap where they were using their vampiric charms to gather the attentions of whoever was there and then starting fights with them, because what else would you do in such a place? Kane reminding everyone of his reputation and why they don't want any trouble with him. Kari was absent from our on-camera hijinks because she was seeking out Winter's Kiss, which is the embassy of the Shadow Fae courts to the city of Zobek, and it is notoriously difficult to locate, as its location is hidden or moves. The average citizen really isn't sure what the deal is there, and the hope is that Kari, being a Shadow Fae, will have an easier time locating it. And then we had Cloak and Glaz diving into some research at the Arcane Collegium, as well as securing lodgings in the college district. And they rented a small series of basically a small flat from a lovely middle-aged halfling lady named of D. Kettlewhistle, who is a maid at the college. And they have arranged to have a housewarming dinner with her later. And really, she just seemed a lovely person and was only too happy to take these 2 boys in and give them a nice, clean, safe place for them to stay. So they have secured lodgings outside of the so-called fuck house. And I believe that is pretty much where we have left off. Let's see if... All right, sorry, we had Will stepping out for a moment. No problem. So we're going to go and jump right in with Kari. Kari, to remind you...
resplendent offering.
Armored
Armored
Crocodile
Crocodile.
mount for Kane. Okay. Interesting.
I am beyond hyped at this.
I'll just make a note of that, and we'll figure out what to do with that here in a minute.
Thank you for the donation, friendos.
Thank you very much
Thank
for the donation.
you. And thanks for the raid, Prylor.
Yes.
Hi, Prylor.
Okay, while everybody's distracted, look at my totally cool and awesome death save shirt.
Yeah,
That is
that's it.
badass as hell.
That's it.
I almost
Pretty damn amazing.
thought you would be like, look at my new tattoo, and then showed in your butt, and it's just like,
I wonder you like,
Well, ERP
Will's
is definitely a
wrong.
friendly show, but I am looking for Winter's Kiss. Okay.
Yes,
and I
indeed.
went absent,
All right.
and I remember the last thing I was doing was walking down a set of corridors, I believe, or something close to it.
What you were doing was riding into town on your brand new mount, which to everyone else looks like a gorgeous, shining coated,
yes, my Shadowverse.
high-spirited, black-coated stallion. What everyone else viewing this beast doesn't know is that it is, in fact, as you said, a creature known as a Shadowvar. It is a creature native to the Shadow Realm of Midgard, and it resembles nothing short of an undead unicorn. It seems emaciated, its skin pulled tight against its muscles and bones, its eyes gleam red, and its horn has this almost worm-eaten wood look to it, where there are great gaps missing, and it occasionally blows air through this horn and sounds this sort of plaintive, wailing song that is somewhat comforting to Kari and extremely disturbing to everyone else who hears it. However, at the moment, it looks like a beautiful black stallion. You are riding down the streets of Zobek as you've made it back into the city, and the sun is sinking toward the west and hiding behind the Iron Crag Mountains, and dusk is settling over the city of Zobek itself. You have in your possession a satchel that once belonged to a Shadow Fae courier who met his end in the depths of the Margrave Forest at the end of the arrows of peculiar creatures called Alcide, sort of a hybrid deer, elf, centaur creature. You have in that, of particular note in that satchel is a letter sealed, addressed to the ambassador in extraordinary Glananin Felamandrine at Winter's Kiss Embassy. So you have some sort of priority communication for the ambassador at Winter's Kiss himself. Now, why don't you make me an intelligence, either investigation or history, whichever you prefer, and I'll give you advantage on it to see how much you know about Winter's Kiss.
Okay, I apologize, as it will take me a little bit longer to grab dice. You said investigation or... Sorry?
Or history, whichever you prefer.
They're both awful, so let's go with investigation. That was a nat 20,
well,
though.
that's
so...
what we want to see.
Damn.
Oh,
Very nice.
yeah.
All right. So, you, if you recall, you spent some time amongst the gentry of the Shadow Fae in and around the area of Hunt's Retreat in the Shadow Realm. In fact, you rubbed elbows very briefly with the Black Prince himself. And in the course of kind of garnering some notoriety because you were in his proximity, you managed to chat very briefly with some of the other courtiers who were in his hunting party and just sort of following in his orbit, as well as those strange, almost monochrome servant figures, one of whom sort of attached himself to you and saw to your every need when you were in the camp there. And you recall hearing that the embassy of Winter's Kiss, while it has previously actually changed its location throughout Zobek, the entrance moved in some way that seems perfectly natural to you, but would be incredibly perplexing to any material-dwelling mortal. It has actually become more stable in recent years. You're not exactly sure why, but you had heard through these rumors that Winter's Kiss is now located in the Collegium district of Zobek. So you know at least the general location of where it is. And so you spend probably, how much priority are you going to give to finding the embassy? As it's night is falling, are you going to go ahead and push through at it? You've had a little bit of a tiring day since you were traveling through the woods, but you hadn't been in combat or anything like that. You had a restful night the day before, so you're not terribly sapped.
Kari has always been kind of close to her people and feeling that this is something that is incredibly important, especially as it is an ambassador. She's going to be pushing through the night as long as her Shadowvar does not seem too disturbed by the journey. And plus, she would prefer traveling at night because as a Shadow Fae, sunlight sensitivity and everything has been kind of a setback for her.
Yes, indeed. So yeah, your last leg of the trip from the edge of the woods across the plains and the bridge and then across the river into Zobek, that was just, it was a little bit harrowing. The sun was bright, it was stabbing into your eyes, you could feel it prickling like needles across your skin. So now it's just sort of a welcome respite as Sarastra's cloak is thrown over the waking world of Midgard, and you feel much more at home. So you're content to spend most of the evening engaging in your search for the location of Winter's Kiss. The Collegium District, it doesn't completely shut down after dark, but activity definitely dips sharply. You can see faculty, students, and staff from the Arcane Collegium filtering out and heading home. You probably even part ways with Glaz and Cloak in that area as they split off to go and begin their research at the Collegium Library now that they have secured their invitations and their right to be there, despite how much that vindictive kobold would like to keep Cloak out. You spend, we'll say, probably about 2 hours just sort of walking the streets, or riding the streets, as it were, of the Collegium District. It's well cobbled, it's kept very clean. You see city guard at any number of points, and they... You catch their attention, and they give you a look, just enough because it's, okay, well, here's a Shadow Fae riding a black horse right in the middle of town. It's not something they've never seen, but it's enough to garner their attention, and they give you perhaps a polite but curt nod and just let you on your way. Nobody seems to accost you. You make your way down a particular cul-de-sac, and as you turn onto this little dead-end street, and you can see the flickering lamplights just throwing these little pools of radiance amidst the shadows of night. You take a deep breath and you smell this sort of cold chill in the air that reminds you of home.
We must be getting close, I say to my Shadowvar kind of absent-mindedly, stroking along its mane.
It tosses its head a little bit and sort of bows its head back into your touch, and it lets out this soft wicker and turns its head, and there's a shimmer around its head, and you see its horn for just a moment appear in this ripple in the air, and it seems to be pointing down the street toward the right side.
Oh, you would know better than I would, wouldn't you? Come, let's away then.
It gives a soft, almost a chuckling sort of whinny, and before you even finish talking, is already set off in the direction it was pointing.
I feel a very strong connection being with animals. It kind of just reminds me of being young and running through the wilderness of the Shadow Fae, and I find myself a lot more eager than I had realized to be on my way home, as it were, even if it's not my home.
And so riding the Shadowvar is a particularly exhilarating experience. You'd seen them before, particularly when you were younger, running in sort of these wild herds through the forests and plains of your home, but you'd never ridden one before. You'd, of course, seen them broken as mounts, or, well, broken is the wrong word since they are more intelligent than mortal horses. But you'd never had the pleasure of riding one, so this is a new.
It had been one of Kari's great dreams for a long time. Actually, I think I mentioned that briefly in her backstory that she had a strong desire to come across such a creature. So this is definitely one of those magical moments for her, where I guess the equivalent of like Shadow Fae Country would be playing in her mind as she's galloping down.
All right. So the Shadowvar sort of picks up on your excitement and steps up into a trot, and its clattering hooves sort of herald your approach as it brings you down the street to the house kind of on the end of the lane right before the cul-de-sac itself. And it stops, turns toward it, which just sort of seems to be just this, you're in a richer area of the city, so the homes are large, they're built of stone. This one in particular, you can just feel it sort of prickling at your skin, and you can see a shimmer in the air around it. There is an air of glamour surrounding this building, and in the architecture, you can see it sort of strangely wavers between a human style that seamlessly blends with the surrounding buildings, and then this more elegant, darker, sort of delicate, sweeping style that you immediately recognize from home, and you know without a doubt you're at the right place. The Shadowvar brings you up to the steps leading up to the front door and stops and just sort of waits patiently there for you to dismount.
I do so, and would this be kind of like a shadow road through the building itself, and I would have to roll my Arcana check to understand how it works?
No,
it's
not any kind of shadow road. It's probably more along the lines of a veil of illusion that protects the building. You recall as Winter's Kiss used to be hidden from plain sight, and that the entrance could, if rumor was to be believed, even move around Zobek. There might be the sort of remnant or the dormant form of that magic still upon it. Or perhaps the ambassador, despite having decided to quit moving the door all over the damn city, still likes his privacy and prefers the building to be nondescript. So you make your way up to the door, and you see a particular emblem worked in silver. It's a crescent moon pointed upward, and you recognize that as being part of the coat of arms of the courts of the Shadow Fae themselves.
Yes. Would there be any particular grading or code that I would have to use, or could Kari just kind of confidently stride into the building?
So you're not aware of any particular etiquette or challenge or passphrase or anything that you might need. So as far as you know, you would most likely be welcome if you just make your presence known.
I am Kari of Hunt's Reach, I say out loud, kind of looking over my shoulder, almost like I'm looking over to one of my companions for reassurance, but then realizing it's the Shadowvar, and while it is an intelligent creature, I shouldn't be so embarrassed in front of it. I kind of straighten myself out a bit more, and I wait to see if there's any reaction to that. If there is not, then I push on forward.
Okay, so you say this just sort of up the stairs at the door?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Just below the crescent emblem on the door, you can see that there is very subtly worked into it. There is a little kind of a viewport or a panel, and that slides open. And you see the delicate bone structure in the little bit of face that you can see behind it of one of your kind, another Shadow Fae, a male, and his skin has a vaguely violet sort of tinge to it, and his eyes they swirl between green and this rich, almost night sky blue. And he says, Kiran Salas, welcome, Kari of Hunt's Reach. What brings you to Winter's Kiss?
I have grave news of Glanamine Felamendrin and some of his belongings.
His eyes widen just a moment, and he says, very well. The viewport slides shut, and then the door opens. And behind the door is a Shadow Fae man with sort of long, silvery hair bound back in a black metal ring in this sort of sweeping, clean ponytail. He has curving horns jutting out of his hairline that curl down by his temples, and his ears kind of sweep back from behind the horns. And he steps aside and sweeps a gesture for you to enter into the foyer. And you can see soft, dark, woven carpet with these subtle patterns embroidered in them, clearly of some sort of exotic silk. There's dark wood paneling covering the walls, and there are candles here in these sort of black metal sconces that burn with bluish green flames. It's very dim, but enough to create comfortable illumination for your dark vision. It's very welcoming and very comfortable, given how the human-dominated city of Zobek usually comports itself. Oh, thank you very much.
Thank you for the bits.
So you step in, and the Shadow Fae closes the door, and he says, I shall bring your name and your tidings to His Excellency the Ambassador. If you would please wait here, I shall return to you shortly. And he sort of bows slightly at the waist and heads off into the embassy. And you can see that there are some comfortable chairs off to the side, and a silver carafe full of cold water, along with some goblets, if you wish to avail yourself of it.
I feel like Kari would be a little out of place and probably more so nervously pacing and doing that kind of weird guest at a home thing where she puts her hands behind her back but like leans looking at stuff like, oh, I'm not going to touch this, but it's very out of place. She's not from a royal lineage or heritage, and having to bring this news and tell this tale and be the bearer of bad news, she's kind of wondering, is this going to be one of those rare instances where they kill the messenger?
Got it. All right. So as you're sort of inspecting the furnishings and looking at this this beautiful framed portrait and oil painting of a resplendent Shadow Fae noble lady who is wearing a garb that is kind of this strange mixture of what looks like this delicate, almost airy half-plate armor, and then a formal gown along with that. Like the armor is worked into sort of a corset shape, and she has these flowing silk skirts that roll out from under the male skirt that runs down from her waist, and she just has this imperious, cold, and this expression on her face that has this iron resolve but wrapped in a courtier's silk. It's somewhat captivating, and you notice there's a side room next to this great portrait, and a little bit of movement catches your eye, and your attention flickers over to there, and you can see barely in the darkness of the room beyond this doorway there is the shape of a shadowy. You really can't place if it's a dog or a wolf, or it's definitely something canine-ish, but its form just sort of blends into the darkness, and you can see this cold blue gleaming where eyes would be as it just sort of watches you. And you have this thought for the moment that if it didn't want you to see it, you wouldn't have. But it's just sort of watching.
I nod my head in respect to the animal and its intelligence, and Kari, despite her more mundane trappings and hunting style, a half smile spreads across her face as she looks up, and whether or not it's the truth, she imagines this to be her queen, the Shadow Fae, and just kind of basks in the not exact presence of her being there, but being close enough, giving that connection to her people, and a bit more of calmness. And the scared trepidations that she has from being in this grand foyer kind of releases a little bit as she realized she's a Shadow Fae, she's here, this is her people, she's where she's belonging, she's doing the right thing.
So after that moment of sort of calm settles over you, you manage to, your brain sort of clicks what this creature is. It's one of the Hounds of the Night, often used as one of the hunting hounds by either the Lord of the Hunt or the Black Prince. They are formidable creatures with the ability to expel sort of a shadowy blast of icy, frigid cold that infuses their bites, and they're terrible, terrible beasts. But strangely, exactly as you say, seeing this thing, whereas anyone else, a visitor to this place, might be off-put and now fearful that this creature is watching over them, it gives you a sense of familiarity, comfort, and safety. And as you're sort of settling into that new calmness, The steps herald the return of the doorman, and he bows once again at the waist with sort of a florid whisper of his velvet overcoat, and he gestures toward the stairs and says, "His Excellency would love to see you immediately. If you would please follow me, mistress."
And I make haste and stay a respectful few paces back from the host.
Okay, so he leads you up the stairs toward a dark polished wood door. He knocks once upon it and opens the door before waiting for any sort of invitation. Clearly, he knows he is expected. And he steps inside and he says, "Your Excellency, may I present Mistress Kari of Hunt's Retreat." Yeah, it's Hunt's Retreat, not Hunt's Reach.
Sorry.
And he that's okay. He bows, gestures you to enter, and then once you've stepped inside the room, he leaves and pulls the door closed. Inside, you find yourself in a very well-appointed study. There are dark, polished wood bookshelves full of tomes of all description and size. Some that seem brand new with polished leather, and you can smell the oil that smells like it's been very recently rubbed into the covers. You can see gilt and silvered lettering gleaming in the candlelight. There are scrolls that seem so old that a stray breeze would cause them to crumble into dust. There are glass cases behind which strange, misshapen skulls rest on black velvet pillows, and all manner of implements and artifacts scattered here and there about the room. There are tables with candelabras, there are overstuffed chairs and couches, even a chaise lounge at one point, and sort of a larger table with several chairs arranged around it. Near a crackling fireplace, whereupon another one of those sort of bluish-green flames burns merrily within and sends these azure sparks up the chimney, is you can just tell by his bearing that he's an older Shadow Fae. Of course, judging his age by looks is incredibly difficult, as it is for all elven kind. But he has great curving ram's horns, and his hair is dark and is slicked close to his scalp, cut short, and just very meticulously. It comes to a widow's peak, sharp enough to cut bread. And you can see he is holding a brown leather book open in front of him, just sort of reading by the firelight. His features are long and sharp. His nose comes to this sort of almost a point, as does his chin, sort of matching it. And his eyes are very, very dark and seem almost overly large in his face. He turns to you with a soft, whispered snap of the book closing, and he tilts his head to the side, and his eyes sweep over you, and he nods, just ever so faintly. And he says, "I am Ambassador Thalamandrine, and I bid you welcome to Winter's Kiss. Come, tell me of why you are here."
I bow deeply and walk up to his study, and I produce any item that I didn't give to Glaz to hang on to, the memory potion, the pouch that contained it, the letter, the paperwork, and I will go into a description at great length of pretty much everything that's happened from the moment I have come out into the world of sunlight to this point, to make sure that I don't leave out any detail. And as I'm rounding out my story, and I say the Shadowfar fortunately survived and is outside waiting. I would understand if you would like to take him into your own home.
So as you tell your story, Thalamandrine watches you with just sort of this almost statuesque bearing. He hardly moves a muscle. You don't notice his shoulders lift when he breathes. Hey, what's up, Mike? His eyes flicker once when you say that the courier is dead. And you can see his skin tone, which is alabaster pale, suddenly begins to grow darker, and it becomes almost this faint like if you could imagine you had a faint charcoal dust rubbed over somebody with this porcelain complexion, that's what happens to his skin. It grows about 3 shades darker toward gray or black. And he nods once as you explain, and you finish your tale, and you hold forth, I assume, the letter, the sealed letter.
Yeah, I put everything on the study immediately before him,
Right.
and as I finish my tale, I kind of start shifting from one leather boot to the other, and almost holding my breath, like, I hope he believes my tale. I hope that this is not him thinking that I've committed some sort of assassination. And all these terrible thoughts start running through Kari's head as she stands there waiting for him to say something, anything.
Sure. So you finish, and his eyes sweep down to the little round side table that has this this parquet wood sort of pattern, almost like a wooden mosaic built into the top of it, that every time you look at it, it seems just a little different than the last time you saw it, and it becomes a little distracting every time you look down and the pattern seems to have changed or shifted, or you remembered it wrong. It takes you a little bit of focus to stop looking at the damn thing and focus on the guy in front of you. But you place the articles on the table, and as you finish your story, he sweeps his hand over with this very fluid gesture, almost like a mountebank or a magician doing a card trick. And he sweeps his hand over the letter and somehow manages to scoop it up without seeming to really grab it with his fingers. It's very strange. And he looks at it and he sort of runs it across his nose and takes a brief inhale of it and looks at the black seal and cracks it with this very audible pop. And then he snaps, and a shadow moves from behind him, from a bookshelf. And it comes out bearing this glass bottle with a swirling liquid in it that catches the light, and it has this sort of golden sheen. And when you look back down at the side table, there are 2 crystal wine glasses there that you didn't see a moment ago. The shadowy figure, vaguely humanoid, you really can't, your eyes just kind of slide off of it. You hear the hollow pop of the cork, and then the whispered slosh as the liquid is poured into each of the glasses. And as Thelamandrine opens the letter, he gestures toward one of them to you.
Kari tries to hold back her excitement as this is going completely the opposite way as she had predicted, but doesn't want to presume so much, and puts one of the glasses in front of him, presuming that he's asking to get one for him. But if he kind of gives her any kind of quizzical look, like, what are you doing? She'll then get one for herself, as well as she still stands a few feet away from the desk, nervously.
So he turns to kind of face the letter toward the firelight, and still reading without even looking, picks up the goblet and sniffs it and inhales deeply. And sort of like, without moving his head, his eye just sort of rolls over to you, and his eyebrow quirks up, and his eye flicks down to the goblet that's still on the table, and then back up to you.
Yeah, she is trying to remember anything she was taught about sophistication, grabs the glass, and stands expectantly.
I mean, it seems like he's offering it to you.
Yeah, she's just gonna hold it because she's not gonna drink first. She's not gonna do anything.
He once you pick it up, he seems satisfied and goes back to reading, and he takes a slow sip, savoring whatever this liquid is. And as you pick up the goblet, it feels warm in your hand, not chilled as you might expect, and it has this heady tang of alcohol. It smells like perhaps a very strong or fortified wine, but it also has this very warm note to it that makes your skin sort of flush as you breathe in the scent, and it feels like it grows maybe a degree or 2 warmer in your hand.
Kari
very enticing.
Completely forgets where she is for a minute, forgets all of her tidings of sophistication and trying to do anything, and just slowly sips and drinks in.
As you drink it, it has a bizarre combination of chilled and warmed. So it's almost like you're drinking a chilled wine and a mulled wine at the same time. It has the very heavy alcohol legs of a brandy as it runs across your tongue, and the aroma of it fills your mouth and your nose as you breathe. And beyond this very just rich, complex wine flavor, that warmth begins to spread through you, and it just feels like every time you have felt yourself in the presence of the hunter, that time you felt that reverence when the Lord of the Hunt appeared and made his offering at that little tree stump altar to your god, all those little bits of connection, all of that just sort of wells back up within you, and you can just feel that in this drink as you quaff it, and as you sort of let that feeling wash over you, you start to catch snippets of thoughts and memories that are clearly not your own, but are someone else's. The feeling of kneeling at an altar and being filled with the presence of something greater than yourself that gives life purpose and meaning.
Kari kind of fights back to hold emotional tears, but
so
desperately into the thought and memory.
Very clearly, what you are drinking now is a mortal's memory of piety and faith that has been somehow distilled into a beverage. So whatever this is you've been offered basically. I mean, imagine the most expensive champagne or wine that you could ever think of. That's the
I can definitely do that.
That's the the $400 a shot scotch in the unique crystal decanter. That's what you've just been offered. You've been offered the distilled memory of a mortal's faith. So as Thalamandrine reads, he sort of he's holding the letter in one hand. Welcome back, Will. He snaps the parchment closed with a flick of his long, almost spider-like fingers, and then looks at you and he says, "Have you read the contents of this letter, my dear?"
I don't. I had read the contents of that letter.
You had not. You had not.
Okay.
No, it was sealed. It was sealed and addressed to him, so you guys did not open it.
I shake my head fervently. No, not my place.
He nods at that and seems satisfied and pleased. He folds the letter back up as it was, runs his fingers across the crease, and sort of holding it in his goblet hand between two fingers, sets the letter down, takes a long drink of his wine, and gestures toward the seating area and says, "Please, if you would be willing to indulge me, I would have you sit, and we would talk a while."
I would be honored. And I take my seat across from him.
He sits, and he crosses one leg over the other, and he's wearing these polished black leather shoes. And the leather has a strange texture to it, almost like scales, but not quite. You can't really place what creature the leather has come from, and it has these polished silver buckles on it, and instead of reflections, it seems like shadows are the only thing that play across the silver surface. Very strange.
I think of Glaz for a moment and how delighted he would have been to see such boots, and a small half smile comes upon me as I've become rather endeared to that particular companion. And I sit back and I relax a little bit more, feeling a bit more comfortable.
So he says, "You have told me of your adventures that progressed in the old Margrave, and I am saddened to hear of the death of our courier. It may or may not have seemed strange to you that a messenger would have appeared so far from Zobek proper with a letter bound for me, when a shadow road runs directly to us." And he sort of watches you for a moment to see if you have any reaction to that.
No, that's exactly my thought process. I had presumed that something would have gotten in the way, or that they were taking a roundabout route, as would be clever if delivering an important message to a distinguished emissary such as yourself.
He purses his lips and he says, "Commerce and messages along the Shadow Road." And when he says that, you can hear the capital letters. There are Shadow Roads aplenty. The Shadow Road is the one that runs from Zobek across Midgard, and particularly to the courts of the Shadow Fae, is one of its more prominent destinations. It's probably the one you took from Coromel, the City of Lanterns, to Zobek when you first brought Glaz out of the Shadow Realm, when his mishap landed him there. The Shadow Road has been closed to us. We have had no word. There has been no trade. This is the first message that has come from the courts and Her Majesty. And he taps the letter. So apparently that letter is from the Queen, or from her agents.
Okay, so my thought process of him being sneaky and trying to go down other roads is kind of correct, but the Shadow Roads, Kari is absolutely aghast at this information of the Shadow Roads being closed, and a slight sense of panic comes over her for a second at the thought of not being able to possibly return home. Then she realizes there are other Shadow Roads.
Sure. Did you, in your story telling the ambassador of everything you've done and everything that transpired in the forest, did you tell him about your companions?
I would have spared no detail. I don't see any reason to keep any of that out.
No problem. No problem at all. He says, you travel with a geomancer. Yes?
Yes. Laz is quite adept at his craft, though a bit talkative.
Wizards often are, I find. This is fortunate. Perhaps Her Transcendent Majesty smiles upon us. I would have you investigate the strange goings-on with the Shadow Road. Enlist the aid of your companion. His knowledge may be quite valuable. We do not know what has caused the disruption in the Shadow Road itself and the ley line upon which it runs. He may be able to help you. I suspect there are forces at work, forces we wish to understand better and dissuade them in ever tampering with what is ours again. Do you understand?
A very cross look comes across Kari's face at the idea of anyone daring to come at the might of the Shadow Fae, and she nods, the mirth leaving her face, understanding the importance of this.
We, of course, have agents of the court and the crown who will be tracing these disturbances from the sides of our homeland, but we require more agents here on the material of Midgard itself. And you shall be chief among these. He reaches into his coat, into his pocket, and pulls out a small little token. And it's gold, and you can tell immediately that it's not just gold, it's shadow gold. It seems to kind of gather darkness around the engravings and corners. And he holds it out to you on his palm. Take this. This is my seal. Use it should you find great need. If you run afoul of the administration of this city, the mortal rulers, and he kind of rolls his eyes just a little bit. This will tell them. I kind of
demurely look down and pretend I didn't see.
This will remind them of their place. Use it in my name should you have great need. So you take it and you look at it, and there's the gear seal of Zobek with the black crescent of Winter's Kiss emblazoned on top of it.
Kari will take a knife out of her hair and quickly fashion a, maybe from one of her shoelaces, take her pouch and create a necklace and tuck it underneath the tunic in her shirt in the pouch so that it is not easily gained by thieves. I will protect this. And thank you.
Very good. Well, are you enjoying the wine?
She nods, smiling, not really sure of how to respond, taking another small sip. It is a great honor.
A priestess of Lada, the goddess, traded it some time ago. I have found this one of my favorite acquisitions. The vintage is exquisite. You know, the Lada is the goddess.
I'm having it. So
Lada is the goddess of healing and mercy. So whatever a priestess there ran afoul of the Shadow Fae, you're not sure how or why, but that's very interesting to you. And she apparently traded away some of her faith for whatever her debt or need was. He looks to the other articles that you have placed on the table, and he says, "You may keep these other baubles. Take them with my blessing and thanks for your service to your queen."
Thank you, Lord Fel Mandarin. I kind of, for a brief moment, look around, not being able to help myself. I had seen an interesting companion of yours, the Shadow House.
Yes. Yes, we have many servants, many defenders here in Winter's Kiss. Should anyone be foolish enough to strike at us in our seat of power, they will be dead before they take 5 steps. And when he says that, there's another movement of shadow behind him. You can't make out who or what it is, but there's definitely something back there.
Kari laughs, but again, it's one of those moments where like icy cold shoots down her spine, and she is once again reminded of the presence of greatness that she is in, and will, as formally as possible, finish her drink, but is also very excited to begin this mission for the crown immediately. She feels like she's been chosen for something really cool. With your leave, my liege, I would very much like to begin this investigation for you immediately.
He's just used this bare quirk of a smile at one corner of his mouth. He says, "This pleases me." He stands and kind of holds his hands out, and he says, "Ben, I wish you all fortune." And he kind of takes your hands and bows just ever so slightly to you.
I bow much deeper.
May you and your companions have good fortune, great hunting, and may the blood of your enemies wet your blades.
I always do. And I will let go of his hands, step back, bow once again, and walk out of the room, never turning my back to him, walking to the door, opening the doors behind me, and then very quietly closing them behind. And then Kari will kind of take a look around, and she'll do one of these, and jump in excitement and ecstaticness, and realize that she might have made a mistake because she's very road weary, but nonetheless is going to push on and perseverance to get back to her companions as possible. Giving a brief nod to the shadows, wherever that shadow hound was, even if she doesn't see it, just acknowledging the creature's greatness, and running out the door, hoping that her Shadhavar has not abandoned her.
When you step outside, you descend the marble stairs down to the sidewalk, and the Shadhavar is waiting just where you left him. And he sort of when you approach.
I take out the coin and I show him. We have an important mission.
He sort of brings his nose forward, and his big horse nostrils kind of flare as they snuffle at it, and it kind of like nose bumps the side of your face.
I put it back in. If you are ready to travel, we should away.
All right, you mount up and head wherever you would like. So we will let you take your rest for the evening, and we'll move on to the next day, which will bring us up current with the rest of the party, and you guys can reconvene. And you know that tonight, Kane, is the night that Thrick, Vandessian Thrick, is slated to be in the Cartway's black market, according to your kobold coachman friend, Black Eye.
I don't mean to point out that you mispronounced prick there, Dan. I don't want to be that guy. Just saying.
Yes. Sure.
Yeah. So yeah, I guess. Well, I would have. I believe I've told Reardon that.
Yes, we're killing someone.
Yes, indeed.
Good.
So. Yeah, I will have made attempts to find the others. I kind of want to go to the library and see what they're up to, just because I really want Kane and Reardon to.
They thought they were going to pick up girls at the library. It was honestly sad.
We're like going to come out like we're going to come out with like stinking of alcohol, like blood and like Like, I've been like, I've like split all my knuckles. You're like,
Oh yeah.
It's like, we should go to the library. Find our friends.
All right, so you two are both drunk as lords.
Ruin this for me. Waiting so long. Don't you ruin this for me?
Is it like morning time and they're wasting?
Oh yeah. No, they're coming out at like half an hour after sunup.
Right.
So we're like
Still drunk
hungover
from the night before.
Yeah, we're hungover or like still drunk, and you've
Yeah,
got
I say
like
you're not hungover yet. You're still drunk. Yeah.
Right.
There is no last call.
You've got split knuckles. You have a black eye. Your lip is
The
split in
Las
two
Vegas
places.
Midgard.
There's a mixture of your blood and someone else's on the corner of your lip that you haven't like completely wiped away. You've gotten a little bit of the action too, Riodan, whether you wanted to or not. Things got a little heated in there, so you're sort of dabbing at the little bruise on your cheek with a lace handkerchief.
Yeah. So
Off we go.
yeah, I will follow Riordan out, sort of maybe turning and sort of giving glares to anyone who followed us out. Even if they weren't involved in any fights we've participated in that night, like anyone who walks out immediately after me, I'm just Kane gives them the look of like, leave another time, go back inside, depart some other fuck you, and we drunkenly stagger. I'm that overly aggressive kind of guy at the bar who everyone hates and just wants to avoid.
Yep. So as you come out and you pass by one of the side alleys next to the Wheat Chief, you do in fact notice a few of the people that you had tussled with earlier. Looks like they were waiting for you to leave, and they start to kind of square up and reach for their weapons, and they see you, they catch your eye, and they see that little hint of, look, it was, in there it was all fun and games, but if you come at me now, I'm leaving with your blood. They just kind of see that, and they think better of it, and they just sort of melt back into the alleyway and go somewhere else to drink off their bruised pride.
Okay. In which case, yeah, I guess like Riordan is probably going to be leading towards the library. This is definitely Riordan's idea. Of like,
Okay.
Great, we'll find them. Then
We're going to go
they'll
down the
have
library.
drinks.
It'll be a wild
They'll probably
time.
have drinks.
librarians, right?
Right.
Fantastic.
Oh, I want them to meet my librarian.
I can't tell if that was McCloken speaking or Cloak. Like, I feel like McCloken has a particularly vicious librarian story that I now need to hear.
Remember he was a total absolute dick the last time that he went to go over there?
It's a kobold,
He's
right?
like- he's
got
like-
the nemesis
he's
kobold.
like-
Oh, him, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Yeah, he's Cloak's like nemesis. Like
Yeah.
kobolds are become his favored enemy after fucking level 6.
Well, there's
Just for this.
some natural animosity between kobolds and gnomes. So
I was gonna say, I can imagine they're stumbling out of the bar, Glaz and Cloak, starting their morning. These are lovely flapjacks, Mrs. Kettle Whistle. Can I get you some more tea? As we're having a lovely breakfast with tea Kettle
Yeah.
Whistle.
Yep.
Nice
yep.
little doily on our plates. We're having some
the-
juice.
D is making you guys pancakes and with fresh fruit, sort of with fresh fruit kind of on the top of them, along with powdered sugar. So it's just a wonderful breakfast. And you probably hear Riordan singing as he's headed past your house towards the Arcane Collegium.
Nope, just let it happen.
Yeah.
I cannot imagine that this is going to be a good outcome for anybody.
Yeah, we just pretend we don't know them.
Kari, one note. As you came out of Winter's Kiss, you'll notice that while you had a lovely sort of, tense, but ultimately extremely satisfying visit with the ambassador, much more time seems to have passed when you leave Winter's Kiss. So it's partially time flies when you're having fun, but also maybe time flowed a little bit different in there versus out here in the rest of Zobek. So you kind of lost, seems like, most of the night in your audience.
Oh no, that means daylight soon.
Daylight on the way, yeah. So I imagine she'll go and turn in and get some sleep.
Daylight
yeah,
and Riordan.
absolutely.
Yeah, Daylight
Yeah.
and Riordan, oh god.
No. I'll
Two
push
natural enemies
until
of
I get
Carrie.
there, and then I'll just kind of slap how much gold would ever be required for any hotel, and just pillow over face.
Oh, so you're just going to grab the nearest room in the Collegium District, not go to anywhere in particular?
I think that she'll want to be awake. She only needs 4 hours of rest.
Yeah,
so
she only needs a place for 4 hours, and then she'll be good to go.
Yeah, and then
It's good to be an elf.
Yeah, it's great.
Sure.
Do you know where Cloak and Glaz are staying?
I
don't think
assume
so.
that you all would be at the
No.
Buck House regardless. So, or
Well, yeah,
that would
you
be a
don't
good
know that
place
we
to meet up.
Our little bed and breakfast with D.
I would say that you know
So
that they were
do.
going to find a room to rent in the Collegium District somewhere, but you don't know where yet.
Yeah, the first place when I wake up, I would go and check is the Buck House and then ask around
Right.
for them. I know it has an
Got it.
actual name, but
It's called the Silk Scabbard.
So, yeah, I don't have my notebook. I have some tea
It's all
in my
right.
bottle here.
Oh,
so.
you missed a dirty look from the prostitute I got when I called it the fuck house in front of her.
It was less
not-
dirty for pain. It was more like,
Do not,
well,
do
that's
not
not
insult
wrong.
my friend Valia that way. She is a courtesan at a very a lovely establishment known as the Silver Serpent. Or Scabbard.
Silk
Silver Serpent. Silver
Silk
Scabbard.
Scabbard.
Silk
Serpents on the
Scabbard.
mind.
That is hard to say with this accent. I just have to say.
Scabbard.
You really like the serpents.
So, Cloak, I feel as though that we need to put a stop to this.
To whatever's happening outside.
Whatever is
No.
happening, they are heading towards the library. They could ruin this for you. If they start screaming your name, they could take away your library pass.
Oh, you know this is
I'm
happening.
just saying, this is not. They're not going to go quietly into the library.
God damn it! All right. He puts like his having pancakes down, and he's like, I just want quiet day, and these fucking assholes. And let's just come, okay? Right, I'm going, and he just like is going, and Pop is like following behind him, like excited to go on a walk.
I'm
And
totally
it's one of those
doing
times.
walking at the door, cleaning mine and Cloak's plates as we walk out of these. Thank you, D. I appreciate it. It is lovely breakfast. We will have dinner soon. And
Oh, you're very welcome. It was so good seeing you again. Have a great day. All right, you
So,
head out, and you see, you kind of see their backs as they've kind of moved on past, and they're about to turn the corner. They're swaying a little bit dangerously looking, and it looks like Kane's blood is definitely up, and he has not only is he spoiling for a fight, but he's probably been at it all night, judging by the look of him. And Riodan is just, he's got a good voice. He's clearly just a little bit drunk. And he is just singing this sort of kind of not really bawdy, but sort of a spirited tune at the top of his lungs as he sort of swaggers along with Kane.
I'm having terrible images of like Reardon and Kane out now, and it's just Reardon like, "Hey Kane, could you fight that guy?" And Kane's like, "Yeah, let's do this."
I just like point at them and I'm like, beat that one up for me.
So as you're going, Whisper, the great gray owl, is perched on Kane's shoulder and is just sort of well balanced and kind of waddling along as he swaggers down the road. Whisper's head turns 180 degrees around, makes eye contact with you, Glaz, and just has this look that says, "Help."
Good morning, Whisper. How are you? Hello, friends. We are here. We are back this way. You don't need
I didn't get to do the thing I wanted to do.
What did you want to do?
I'm sorry.
Wait, before any, like, as soon as Cloak saw them, because they're probably too drunk to notice them, to get them away from the library and ruin his library pass, this is what he would do.
You're gonna pull your card.
I'm trying to find the name of was the hedgehog?
The hedgehog, yes.
I didn't
Yeah,
know
the
it was like
hedgehog
the blue hedgehog, but no, it's just the hedgehog.
Just the hedgehog.
Okay. So yeah, the Hedgehog Tavern. So Cloak would see those two drunk assholes, and he's gonna roll a deception. And he's gonna go, oh my god, I think there's free drinks at the Hedgehog. And then I kind of also stealth and be like, this fucking stopping them to go to the library. And let's get my deception up. 19.
All right. So you're trying to kind of persuade them to go get more drinks at the Hedgehog rather than going to terrorize the library.
Yes.
Is that the plan?
Did someone do this to you, Cloak? Did someone beat you up? Because we're going around beating everyone up.
All right. So why don't you guys, you Dampiri, why don't you make me a wisdom insight check with disadvantage due to your drunkenness?
My what? My
He can roll his R's.
Your inebriation.
Sorry, what was the check you need?
Wisdom insight, please.
Wisdom insight. Okay. Okay, let's see how this goes.
Oh,
19 and a 20.
God damn it.
My insight is a 19.
with disadvantage.
Damn.
Oh, with disadvantage.
Yeah.
Let's roll it again.
You guys are poisoned.
This is true.
So poison.
That's
Oh.
6.
Yeah, this
All
is
right.
about.
Riodet is like, wait. Free drinks. I can't. Yeah. Yeah, so there you go. So someone talks about, you overhear someone talking about free drinks at the Hedgehog Tavern, and that sounds kind of enticing, wouldn't you say?
Let's go. Off we go. Next stop.
Can
soon as
I-
they
Kane,
turn out-
however, so Kane, as you hear this voice, it's definitely a voice that you don't necessarily recognize, except somehow you have this this very strange flash of insight. You ever get that kind of feeling like when you look at yourself in a mirror and you almost have this feeling like you're not looking at yourself, you're almost looking at another person? You know what I'm talking about? Have you
It's
ever
literally
sort
all
of
the
had
time.
that? Okay, so you get that feeling where you're almost outside of yourself for a second, and you have this sort of clarity in that moment where you hear it, but it's like another person hearing it, and it's almost like you can see Cloak kind of lurking behind you in the alleyway back there, and you sort of turn around and yep, sure enough, there he is, right where you sort of knew he would be.
Well, and Glaz is standing there waving.
Well, there's
Hello,
that too.
everybody!
Yeah, that's at this point is when
And it's just like, it's Clark going-
Glaz pipes up. Yeah.
Good morning.
It's Glaz.
You're here. You have found us. You don't need to go to the library or that way at all anymore. You can come this way,
Ever.
away from the people we are respected by.
Oh,
Why do we try to sneak glass in the party? I don't know.
I would like to like Kane lumbers over to Cloak. Like in Kane's mind, like he prowls towards Cloak in a menacing fashion. How Cloak is sort of standing like a 45-degree angle, he's not entirely sure. Like it's impressive, but yeah, Kane sort of like staggers towards you and holds out a hand, like an accusatory finger that he's probably actually pointing at Glaz at this point, but he means it at Cloak, and he says,
You said free drinks. Where?
At this point, you can smell just the cheap-ass beer and blood wafting off of his breath.
Yes, where are the free drinks, Cloak? I didn't know there were free
Obviously-
drinks this morning.
Obviously, that was a ruse. I was trying to get them away from the library because, let's go find Cloak at the library.
Well, we could just say hello and see
no
they can
free
right over. We
drinks.
did not need to be secretive.
It would have been funnier if they went to the Hedgehog and been like, where are the free drinks? And then started a big brawl. It would have been funny.
We should definitely do that now.
Yes, that worked so well for you. They have now suggested that they go fight, and you could look at him. You know what Kane's going to go do.
Yeah, he's gonna go beat up all your friends that you've been making at the Hedgehog Tavern.
Wait, what? Laz starts running down the street towards the hedgehog. Everybody get out! There's trouble coming.
Like trying to pull like the equivalent of the fire alarm. Like everybody leave.
Much. Kane is coming. Oh shit! Kane's coming.
I say we go and beat them up anyway now, because it seems like they need it.
I want to like.
How much shenanigans do you want here, Dan?
I would like to give.
You guys have a thing to do tonight. If you want to be drunk and exhausted when you go do it, that's up to you.
I'd like to give Reardon a friendly hug, which, in Kane having his blood up and being inebriated, that's a headlock.
Okay.
That kind of aggressive, like we're all bros here. That's so cool, dude.
So is this a little out of character for Kane, or is this something that he happens to do when he's feeling good and got more alcohol than blood?
Yeah, no, Kane's in the mood for a fight, but he's also, it's not that. He's more working up he's working up to tonight. It's been a long time since Kane's had a proper fucking hunt. But like
I will remind you that the goal is not necessarily to kill this person. It's to find out information about the whole mercenary.
Not necessarily.
I mean, if you guys want to kill him, that's all you.
I am a bounty hunter, not a killer.
It's been a few weeks. Just thought I'd remind you.
It's just like Dan's actually breaking through the fourth wall. Like Kane, just calm down. Just like,
Yo, think about
Where
it.
did giant men come from?
Beard.
The beard avatar.
I'm gonna like drag Reardon over like with him in a headlock. Kane's like entirely trying to be friendly here, and he'll turn to the others. And it's Drick, right?
Thrick, Thrickk.
All I can think was prick, and I was like,
Prick?
No, that's all right. No,
and I will remind you that you can still speak through whisper.
Yeah. So like no. So what happens is Kane says,
I found it's gonna be okay.
and what Whisper says is,
Hold on, I speak King. Keep going.
Fucking carrots.
and I look expectantly at Cloak.
Can I roll insight?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, fuck.
That one.
I'm stuck down a well.
I got it. He found his lost twin brother, and he took his favorite girl, but they have to go to the market and buy some eggs. I don't know I think he's really drunk.
Dan, I have two arms.
Laz looks
right?
to Whisper.
You have what? Sorry.
What?
I have two arms, right?
Yes.
Cloak headlock right now.
Okay.
In the friendly.
Is this a
Legs
trick question?
dangling in the air, and he's just like, no!
Yes.
And I'm gonna be like, yeah. Go on.
After getting the look from Whisper earlier about save me, I kind of put my arm out, to the Whisper. Do you would like to give us a little clarity on what is happening here?
All right, so Whisper, as Kane turned around when he first approached towards you, it was creepy because Whisper's eyes stayed fixed on you and his body just rotated so his head was correct. And so he's just been kind of watching you this whole time and occasionally looking at Kane and then like puffing up his feathers on the back of his head and his neck. And when you offer up your forearm, Whisper kind of jumps and flutters over to you, and his claws kind of clutch. But thanks to your tough trollkin hide, you don't even need a gauntlet. The claws just kind of grab purchase, and they really get a hold. But the knobby,
I got like the
sort of
stony
armor,
outcroppings.
Yep, all those sort of armored knobs protect your skin, and it sort of looks at you. And if you wanted to say something through Whisper to clarify, you could.
Whisper, sort of with that slightly resigned tone of like, I've had a night. Like, Says, we found Thrick, leader of it was the Black Shields, right?
Correct.
Leader of the Black Shields from the tunnels. And we know...
Oh yeah, that guy. We should go beat him up too. Do you think he's got tricks?
And as this is said, Kane hears like Thrick's name and just becomes like overly aggressive, just like and like whispers just and head hung in wings, just yeah. But
Whisper. When this is going on, he actually looks back at Cloak and just looks at him again with this. You see what I deal with? Sort of expression.
It's like if an owl could actually like sigh and drop their shoulders.
Yeah,
it's really Morford browed right now, and it's like like accentuating.
Yeah. It's actually a little startling how expressive this owl is.
I love that's what I love him. He's there to do all of the things that Kane done.
Smooth over the rough edges.
Emote all that business. Yeah. So like as Kane is now questioning Cloak about his long lost brother, like Kane is now asking Cloak about this brother of his that like his twin that apparently he's meeting for eggs. Whisper will sort of lay out the details that we have a location and a time for where Thrick is going to be, and I've got quite a few fucking questions for him. I don't know about the rest of you, but that bastard was a mean bastard, and whoever that guy with the hooks was, I want to know details.
Oh yeah, Scythe Man.
Yeah. We should find. I wonder if Kari has found the ambassador and we knew she was going to Winter's Kiss, right?
I think I would have made that clear.
We knew that off the letter because we saw the addressed letter. We have found out things as well. We know what this pearl is, and he sort of points at. You have it right, Cloak? Don't you have the pearl because you have it in the little vial?
Yeah, it's like frozen over. And I was like, only Kari can touch it because we're going to get sick. As his mouth is covered up by Kane.
He's kind of hoisted off the ground a little bit.
Well, it sounds as though we need to gather everyone together, maybe get a little sobered up. I'm talking to the owl. Maybe sober them up. You look like you could use a nap. It is daytime. We will find you a dark spot. And get ready for a hunt this evening. Won't that be fun? It'll be a hunt.
I'm gonna have to push through. If I stop now, it'll just get worse. So if somebody has, I don't know, some kind of toilet cleaner around, anything honestly will do if there's not alcohol, and I'll just keep myself going, topped up a little bit, and a couple of sips throughout the day, and we'll be fine.
At that, I would like to hand Reardon Cloak, and I will look at him and I say,
Cloak promised free drinks.
And I just dump Cloak on Reardon. I'm just like, you promised free drinks to Reardon.
He did promise.
Reardon, Kane is upset because his twin brother Thrick didn't bring him eggs yet.
You just call Thrick my brother.
Yeah, your twin brother.
This is a brawl now. This is straight up a brawl.
Okay. All right. Oh, no. So there's now a dust cloud over on the corner that is sort of a scrapping and grappling.
with Cloak like backing out of the dust cloud.
I was gonna say Cloak just sort of backs out.
Yeah, like Kane's fighting himself, and it's very much a cartoon moment where he's just like looks at his watch that doesn't exist, and he's like,
okay, all right, well, I'll go buy you some drinks here then.
Okay, good.
Let's do the hedgehog.
So Riordan, is your plan to just push straight through, not sleep, and make it all the way till midnight? Okay.
If I stop now, things
I'm
will
afraid
get
the cumulative hangover will kill me. Yeah.
Hey.
All right. Okay. So the plan is to keep a steady, manageable stream of alcohol flowing into Riordan so he doesn't crash all at once. Anybody else have any plans for the day? Kari, you at this point have probably finished your reverie, and you probably spent most of the evening sort of reliving those warm, faithful memories that you drank in the wine at Winter's Kiss.
Absolutely.
And your entire body feels warm and rejuvenated and just more alive than you have felt in a long time in the wake of that. And just the drinking the warmth of human or mortal emotion, it quickens you. And then you kind of relive that for those hours, and you kind of live through this person's memories during your reverie that night. So it's a very interesting experience and very centering and rejuvenating.
Glaz at the Hedgehog will basically tell everyone in minute detail his talk with Master Diviner Thrace.
Master Diviner Rudwin Whitstone.
Whitstone, golly, sorry. With Master Diviner Whitstone, and about how he talked about possibly joining the college and how excited he is and won't it be great. I mean, he's like the typical freshman who just thinks that college is going to be the most exciting, best thing that has ever happened. You have no idea. It's like they think that I could be very good at this, and that perhaps with my ley lines, and that I have a natural ability, and that I'm already in tune with all of these things. And now I'm hearing this violin because there is this ley line. So yeah, he's going on about all that.
Okay, and you are doing this talking with
pretty much anyone in the Hedgehog who will listen.
Anyone who will listen. Got it. All right.
Pretty
So
much.
over the course of the day, does anybody have any very specific preparations that they want to do? I know that there's research happening that's going to be happening over the course of a few days. We'll get to the results of that.
Yeah, exactly. I was going to say, I'll be.
Is there anything I have to?
Sorry, go ahead.
Is there anything I have to do with Paula Everforge?
I don't think so. I think you guys were all set. I think.
Okay, so Puff got his armor.
Oh yes. You can go and pick that up today. That's something that they almost have in stock that she could get, and then make sure that it is fit for Puff. So Puff now has a set of, I believe it was studded leather barding. Is that right? Is that what you're getting for?
Yes.
Okay, so
that's what I bought.
Good.
She already,
Sorry,
finished my hooded lantern for the flame, correct?
Yes, she did.
So I have that.
The Heart of Flame is in your hooded lantern, and so you basically have what is essentially a continual flame hooded lantern. So it works just like it. You can crank it from the different illumination modes just as normal, and just remember that it's a very deep sapphire blue flame that never goes out, doesn't need any fuel, and it does produce heat, so it will burn shit.
Yep.
Unlike a normal continual flame. A Blink Dug, the Puff, she has an armor class of that is not dependent on the natural armor, so everything is good here. All right, so her armor class increases to 15 when she is wearing her barding.
Nice.
Yay.
So I will make a note of that just in case that comes up.
Just in case.
Question. What is the Brewer's Sisterhood? Is that somewhere I can leave Reardon while going to get this armor?
I'm sorry. What are you leaving? Sorry. Where are you trying to leave?
Sisterhood?
In
the Market District.
Right.
Is that like a guild or a tavern?
That I believe is a guild. I will have to double check real quick. I mean, if you want to find a tavern to leave him at, you can actually do that.
Well,
I think at this point you could leave me anywhere. Like I just need to sit somewhere and just like a steady IV drip of alcohol, and Reardon's safe. He's not going to move anywhere.
Well, there's number 6, which is the Grey Friar Tavern. I would leave you there and like put like a gold on the counter, because I imagine buying drinks is cheap, and being like, just keep his glass full and I'll be back, and then I just walk off to Paula's Forge.
Okay, well that'll work.
I want to hunt my friends down in my own little mini game of trying to find them. I'm excited.
Well, you're in the Collegium District, and Glaz is at the Hedgehog, which you've heard about and him talk about. So you're going to find pretty quick.
Yeah, you can find Glaz basically immediately. You head straight to the hedgehog, and there he is. You can hear him before you even open the door. So you can link up with him there.
As I hear him opening the door, Ari smiles and gives a sigh. You can almost hear Cloak's voice in the back of her head of, why do we even bring Glaz along in stealth missions? And I open the door, looking around for him, seeing him. I stride up to him, big smile on my face. You probably haven't seen Kari this exuberant ever. She's been very straight and narrow, I guess is the best way to describe it.
If Shadowfae could glow, she would be doing it.
Yep. Glaz is probably just chased off the most recent group of people from their own table, having told them stories until they were actually literally had to just get up and leave him. And when he sees Kari, he goes, "Oh, there's my good friend Kari. Hello, how are you doing? What is wrong with your face?"
Sorry, as a player, I'm laughing, but Kari kind of sours up for a moment as she realizes that she doesn't smile at
that's better. Yeah.
Yes.
We must speak immediately, and it is of great importance. And Glaz, you may be one of the most important wizards ever to grace the land of the shadow. And she starts stammering in the same way that Glaz would when she's trying to talk. Do you have a room somewhere we
Oh my
speak more
goodness.
privately?
Kari, are you excited? And happy?
Yes.
This is the most wonderful day ever. And he like puts his arm around her. Tell me all about it. And I take her over to like a booth, if there is one in.
Okay.
You drink wine. He would know that. He would remember what you drink. No, you don't drink.
Yeah. No, Kari does not drink.
Yep.
She drinks
Right.
water
So,
usually.
Yep. So.
And then I was going to have one character that didn't drink for once. So
Yep. No.
I
So.
reach in and I pull out the gold coin and I slide it across the table to you, knowing, of course, that since it's magical, you will immediately be interested. And I'll give Glasses momentary time to look at it, inspect it in the way that he does.
Oh, yep. So I will order her water. I will get a mead, as I'm a mead drinker,
Sure.
and we'll do a identify on it or I guess first do detect magic on it, just to sort of see.
You can tell at first that it is not. It isn't enchanted specifically. It's not a magic item.
Right.
But I would say that you do recognize it as that strange gold that occasionally you find Shadowfae coin is minted in, or Shadowfae jewelry, or just gold objects have been cast or forged from. This is gold mined in the depths of the Shadow Realm. Yeah.
And Glaz's eyes just get so wide. He goes, "Oh, where did you get this? Where did you get this? And look, it is the seal of Zobek, and it is the seal of the Shadow Court, isn't it? Isn't that the crescent is the shield of the Shadow Court?"
Yes, this is the seal of Lord Filamandrin, and he wants you, Glaz, you specifically, as a leyline geomancer, to explain why the shadow roads are no longer working.
Wait, I know about this. I know a little bit about this, because I can hear it. But I couldn't hear it before. You don't understand. Now I hear the violin, but I did not hear the violin before, because the Everforge, I was talking to Master Diviner. We were in there, we were talking, and I was explaining our entire trip. And the ley line that was being used at the Everforge, that connected everything up and with the city of Brass, it was a tributary of the Shadow Road, like not just the Shadow Road, but the Shadow Road. And it had diverted it. It had blocked it. That's why I couldn't hear it before. Now I hear it. Zobek, you should always be able to hear it, because it is a giant, colossal Shadow Road. But see, it had been blocked, and it has something to do with what was happening at the Everforge as well. Did I get all that right, Dan?
More or less, yeah.
Okay.
It's glassified a little bit, but yeah, that's you don't have a huge
information.
Yes, classified information.
Yeah, you have classified clearance. You don't have a huge amount of information on what was going on, but that's pretty close. Yeah.
his understanding of what was happening, and probably with some glass embellishment as well.
So, having looked at it, you know that
as the conversation gets louder, you're like, shh, and then the both get louder, and like
Right.
Yes.
Yeah, the levels sort of have a wave to them. So you know that the Shadow Road ley line should be one of titanic strength, and you know that it runs through several cities and points through the Iron Crag Mountains, and you know that it runs through the edge of the Margrave down to Zobek, and particularly it passes right through Castle Shadowcrag to the north.
So you'll see.
However, right now, I would say it is definitely not at Titanic strength. It's probably only at weak strength right now. But it was non-existent before.
Which is really odd, though. For some, again, it's that whole idea.
A little odd, yeah.
Someone who has been, and the big thing we learned is that someone who has been harnessing a ley line can cause it to move. The use of a ley line will cause it to drift, right?
If a ley line is very heavily tapped, generally it'll take more than just one person doing that to really cause it to, but the more you tap a ley line, the more likely it is to shift.
Right. So somebody somewhere is tapping the Shadow Road, a titanic ley line, to such an extent that it is shifting, it is moving out of position. That is a big deal. As we like to say in the wizard school, a really big deal.
Or at least ebbing much harder than it usually does.
It's ebbing much harder than it usually does.
It's basically just a trickle now, where it should be a flow. Yeah.
It's like
we return the status of this. If we return the status of the ley line, not only you, but I will be brought to great ascension amongst my people. I have no care for gold or material in this world, but to serve my queen, there is no higher honor.
Well,
how is this happening? She says, grabbing Glaz, like suddenly, like expecting him to have an answer. Like, explain to me how this. How can we fix this now?
There are books I've read books, and I can. I mean, in general, Glaz would have studied what higher level geomancers can do, right?
You have some idea, yeah.
There are those who are like me, who are very studied. I mean, perhaps. But I'm even sure if one person could do it ever, even if they were very, very adept. I think it takes. Well, do you remember we saw the runes? And I sort of take off my, my skin that has some of the runes on it that I was able to utilize with Paula to actually. So
I'm going to come around the side of the booth so I can sit beside him and like see everything properly.
So
not that she really understands a lot about magic anyway.
Yeah. Well, you'll see. If you don't have a person, you can put these runes and it will hold things in place, hold them open. So perhaps you have someone of very good strength, very big strength, bigger than me, someone very well studied, and using runes and sigils and placing them, and so they are tapping it and tapping it and tapping it and tapping it. And so what's happening is it is ebbing far, far lower than it ever should. It's like super low tide instead of like a high moon, a super high tide. It's a super low tide. Like it was already gone. It was completely gone. And now it's back a little bit.
So we hunt and kill the people with the runes and restore the Shadow Road. Kari says, not understanding at all.
I'm not sure if that is, you've completely understood what I was telling you. But information. You are correct. We need information.
Where are the others?
They were starting fights.
Kane is probably passed out in whatever booth Glaz was initially talking in. Like,
like 3 booths over.
He is right over there.
I'm in the other tavern, and I'm just telling the stories about how many people I beat. Like I personally beat up.
you personally beat down at the Wheat Chief last night. Yeah.
Kane is going for like the intimidating. Yeah, Kane is doing the intimidating Strider, kind of sat quietly in the corner looking menacing. But if you get too close, occasionally you just hear...
Yeah, he is just passed out. Yeah.
Kari's shoulders slump disappointedly because she really wants to get on the road with this. Let us go and find them, round them up.
we have
So you look over at Kane. He's passed out, sitting up, looking, brooding and menacing with his hood pulled low. You occasionally hear the snoring coming out, and in his lap, you can see, if you kind of move around closer, you can see Whisper there, sort of with his head tucked under his wing, asleep as well.
Take my water and splash it on them.
Oh shit! Kane, you snap to readiness as tiny little.
I throw the glass across the room, so it wasn't me.
Tiny little icy darts and arrowheads spear into your face, and you start to battle readiness and kind of
Kane
knock into the table and
and knife out in the corner, almost sort of pinned in the corner, blade at the ready, but probably slightly at an angle, still not very with it, slowly wipes away a filthy hand of dirt and mud and grime, sweat that's kind of stained the water on his face, and glares at everyone. Everyone in this pub is now fair game. In Kane's eyes when he wakes up.
So all of the talking kind of goes silent as this happens, and you can hear the kind of the heavy thunk of the table that as he sort of upended as he jumped up to his feet, and Whisper got flung off of his lap and has sort of clawed his way up to the back of the up onto the back of the booth, and has his wings kind of half furled and is half leaned forward, and his neck is sort of stretched out, and his eyes have caught the light and are gleaming, and he's making this strange hissing sound.
I'm pushing it down. Don't you fucking dare! Don't you dare!
So after a moment, and Kane doesn't jump out and start slitting throats, everybody just kind of goes back to their drinks and their meal, and the conversations slowly start to pick back up. And Kane, you can see an empty cup sort of rolling conspicuously to a stop amidst a small puddle of water in the center of the common room.
Have I had rest?
I mean, not really at this point. You probably want to find a place to go and rest at this point if you're going to, but yeah. I mean, you've maybe been asleep for an hour at this point.
Yeah. I mean, Glaz was talking. It's got to have been an hour.
Right, exactly. Exactly.
I get up and I'm gonna sort of pull myself out of the flotsam and jetsam, glaring at everyone, and stand up and beside them, just.
What? If you would like to go have a nap, you can go sleep over at our little our room that we have just around the corner from here. Don't kill Mrs. our landlady. There's a bed there. She makes good pancakes.
I look at Carrie.
We have an important. My shadow roads are closed, and I have been sent by my emissary to find out what is going on. There will be great reward. And women. I throw in the end, trying to say anything that will end.
Kane licks his fangs for a moment and points at Carrie and just says,
"Okay." But if you ever chuck water at me again, I will close your shadow roads permanently.
It wasn't me.
And I'm going to.
Wasn't me. As Glass is still pointing.
Glass is
still pointing at her. It was her. Yep.
She did it.
I glare at Glass, but at this point I'm just so used to him being so openly honest and painful.
Fuck house tonight.
And very bright at that prospect.
Kane staggers out of the hedgehog, just done with the day. Kane's gonna go sleep the fuck out.
All right,
I
no
look at
problem.
Glaz, like terrified to say, and the others?
Cloak went to go get some armor that he had ordered from Paula Everforge, and he took Riodan with him. Riodan is going to push on through, he said. I'm sure it will be fine.
Kari kind of mulls over how angry this makes her because she's energetic and ready to go, and her companions are fucking trash.
Well,
useless. Glad.
We're standing we're at the booth, and I sort of, as she's getting all excited, I was like, "Well, remember," and I pull open the blinds and let in a big shaft of sunlight. We probably should wait till later. Yes, we could go back to Miss Kettle Whistle. He makes a lovely mutton, lettuce, and tomato with the tomatoes are nice and perky.
I kind of crinkle my nose at the food of this realm. For once, Glaz, I think that is a good idea because I believe that you have much to tell me and I have much to learn about geomancy.
Oh, I have so much I can tell you, and I would think at that point I'd put my arm around her and we hop up.
Again, my shoulders drop, but she just keeps saying in the back of her head, part of your mission, you're on the hunt, you're gathering information to find the enemies, and just listens to the droning of her dear friend. Oh, and I tell you at some point all about my experience with the memory drink because...
Oh, yeah, so he would be fascinated. He actually would shut up while you tell the story.
I would go into full detail, and you would just see again more smiling from Kari, more happiness, that kind of warmth of the memory washing over her, and she would just look at you almost doe-eyed at the end of it, kind of like a final the end. You know?
All right.
That was a really good story.
So you relay all of the events of Winter's Kiss and all of that goodness to him. Various people are either maintaining their current state up until to the dark hours of the night, or sleeping off the previous night's debauchery and revels. In the meantime, oh man, we need to get the cloak back. But we'll go ahead and.
I do want to say that his pose is just 10 out of 10. Though.
His
please meme this. I need so many screenshots and memes of this all over the internet by tomorrow morning.
Yeah, McLogan's freeze frame game is on point. So
I actually wasn't sure for a while. It was like 20 seconds. I'm like, now he's just holding it, and I thought I saw his eye move, and I was like 5 minutes. No way is he holding this.
No.
I apologize for the lack of Kari voice tonight as well.
That's all right.
My illness.
We're happy you're here. Do what you got to do.
We got to have a Glaz and Kari moment. This was wonderful.
Right. So a little bit of bookkeeping as things are going on. So you guys have done great service to Paula Everforge, who is a well-known, well-respected smith in the gear district, and over the course of that and a few days, coupled with Kari now essentially being a representative of Winter's Kiss. Now, that's not really becoming common knowledge, so to speak, but you have the seal. First of all, you've been part of this crew, and word will start to get around that you are associated with the embassy. And so people who are connected to that are going to start taking notice of it, as well as Glaz, you are going through the process of basically becoming a member of the Arcane Collegium. So over the course of all of the stuff you have done and are doing, everyone's status is going to increase by 1, with the exception of Glaz and Kari's, who are each going to increase by 2. So Glaz, your status is now 3.
Nice.
Kari, your status is 8.
Whoa! Spicy!
Cloak status is 7.
And if only that mattered to Kari in the slightest, because she
Well,
doesn't give a damn
you know,
about the material of this world. Here's what her
Kane's,
people...
Kane's is 9 and Riodan's is 6. So you may not care about this. This doesn't necessarily come with wealth or riches, but what it comes with is respect and the ability to open doors that you might not have otherwise been able to open. And a lot of this will translate into how the Shadow Fae at the courts will see you. I mean, if you guys were to go and try and get an audience at the courts of the Shadow Fae, you would find it, and you would know this, Kari, you would find it a deserted, I was
going to say, I love that place because the illusion, it's the best defensible thing I've ever heard. And you go into a palace and it looks like there's nobody there, and then there's all this open space, and there's just an illusion, and they can pop out at any second and just fucking murder you. It's brilliant.
But you're not worth it. You're not worth it. They won't even give you the time of day. The key, the currency of that particular realm to opening that door is status. So this is absolutely a step on the path that she wants to take.
Very much
so. That taken care of as we go throughout the day. Let's see. I would like for Riodan to please give me a Constitution saving throw.
You got this.
Sure.
Yeah,
I'm feeling like shit on a night.
How do we do it? Oh yeah, not so great. All right, so you are going to end up with a level of exhaustion by the time the evening rolls around, because you've gone a whole night, a whole day without sleep. You've been drinking, you've kind of been nursing some drinks all day long. So you won't be poisoned anymore, but you will have a point of exhaustion.
Okay. Well, that's one thing.
Yes. All right.
Have to do things tonight. It sucks. This is the best part of adventuring. Doing nothing.
Aha! Cloak has returned.
Hey!
There
That's a power
it is.
outage. It looks like a power
Looks like a
outage.
power
Everything is dark.
It's not. It's a fucking internet thing.
Really?
That's just my camera being a derp. Hold on, I gotta get OBS up.
Okay.
He found the Shadow Road all by himself.
Yes.
I'm in the Shadow Realm.
Something that you missed in the interim, McLeokin, is that due to all of your guys' service to Paula Everforge in particular, and her spreading the word of your deeds, as she is respected and well connected in many circles in Zobek, your status have increased. Cloak's status is now 7.
Oh, yeah. What is a status? Like, how's status ranked?
Right. So status, I had. Where is it?
I remember we rolled it. I got max roll, but since I'm a gnome, they're like minuses.
You had you had a ding.
Yeah.
Because the gnomes of Niemheim are sketchy. All right. So status, the way it works is it's a numerical scale. Starts as 0. 0 would be the equivalent of a slave. It is just it's sort of a rough gauge of your social standing, how you're viewed by general populace, how you're viewed by the people in power, and so it really kind of changes how people who matter will treat you and deal with you, or how the lower rungs of society will treat you and deal with you. The higher your status, the more likely you can be to wrangle favors out of more connected, more higher ranked, more powerful people. Like, you guys just can't go and request an audience with the mayor of Zobek and expect to be let in, right? You have to have clout, right? Otherwise, of course, Her Honor can perhaps pencil you in sometime 2 months from now. It's that sort of deal. But if you're someone who's important enough, you can get those doors open. So to give you just kind of a gauge, 3 is the rough equivalent of a peasant or farmer, a laborer, or your average raven folk. So Glaz has stepped up quite a bit from, say, a bondservant or a dwarven thrall under the mountain, which is where he was sitting before. Kane, at this point, who is somehow the most respected out of all of you, and I would say that Kane's status probably stems more from a sense of fear It's a lot of infamy, particularly in criminal circles. People have heard Kane's name, they know his description, and a lot of the kind of rank and file scum know that they want absolutely nothing to do with him. And the higher ups know that if they need something done, they can probably hire him. That sort of thing. That's where his status comes from. He's sitting at a 9 right now, so he's sort of the general level of a master merchant, or where your average paladin would sit. So he's kind of like your underworld paladin, if you would have.
You're a basic paladin, Kane.
Yes.
Well,
Pumpkin
I like
spice
because
brigade.
I also just got the new Zobek
guest
Scout feature.
Zobek Scout, yeah.
Yeah, that's given me the ability to basically say, I know a guy. It's the urban ranger equivalent of like find like a specific thing in the wild. It's find something at a marketplace, or like you know a guy who can hook you up with whatever. So it works perfectly.
And you just sort of magically tune yourself to the pulse of the city and be like, we need to find some contraband. All right, I can figure out if it's here and track down where it might be. Yeah,
it's gonna be a good night.
Yep.
So that's your general thing. It's in the Midgard World Book, in the first chapter, page 20 something. I think if you guys want to look at the status chart and see where you sit, there will be various places where if you want to say, like if you wanted to go and get an audience at Winter's Kiss, you'd probably need relatively higher status, or you might not even be able to find the door. That's the sort of thing that status will do for you. It changes how the world sees and reacts to you as your status rises or falls. And if you guys get caught doing shady shit, your status can indeed drop. Where people who might once have done business with you have now realized there's some stink sitting on this person that I don't really want anything to do with. So. Right. So if there's no other particular preparations you guys want to do, we can move forward to the evening as you guys get ready to head down into the cartways.
I was just going to suggest that Cloak, we give Kari the Shadow Pearl, because I think she's the only person who can actually effectively use it.
Yeah. Whatever that did. Wait, did Cloak see Kari yet?
Oh, yeah. Was Tia not here for that when we figured out the
No, I do not recall a Shadow Pearl. That sounds lovely. Go on.
It's the
so if
thing
you if you remember, you guys found this little pearl in the clearing in the Margrave Forest when you guys were helping out the Alcide, and it was letting off this sort of black shadowy vapor that was spreading out around the place. So you guys have identified it. It is a wondrous item that you can use it while holding the pearl to cast the compulsion spell. The spell centers on the pearl instead of you, and for the duration the pearl leaks liquid shadows that fill the area within 30 feet of it with dim light. And it can't be used again until the next dusk. So you can cast the spell compulsion, which I believe causes people in the area you can kind of force them to move in a direction that you choose, kind of against their will. So you beguile them with these shadows and play with their senses and kind of twist their perception.
Okay.
So was I misunderstanding that it needed to be a Shadow Fae to use it, or could anyone use it?
Anyone can use it.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yep.
Are we giving it to Kari? Is that?
Well, that's what we had
If
decided.
anybody can use it, you guys can hang on to it. But if you guys want to give it to me, then I'll take it.
And I guess we'll do a quick reminder. You guys also found a little gemstone vial that had a strange liquid in it that I believe was very hot to the touch.
I thought I had brought that with me and put that on the table with the letter, and
he told you
he had given it back to me.
Yeah, he told you to keep it. That is the magic item, a memory filter from the Midgard World Book. So just to remind you guys about that.
I do not have any of my resources on me. I apologize, but
that's all right.
Has Cloak seen Kari yet?
We would have gone back to the Silk Scout, I presume, to look for. Oh my God, what is your name?
Ryoden?
It's been a few weeks. I'm sorry, Ryoden. Here we go.
Yes.
We're at the Gray Friar, and he has endless drinks right there right now. So I don't know if he would leave
Or
I think Cloak, if you return to the Collegium district, you'll find Kari and Glaz, who are just deep in all kinds of excited conversation. And over the course of the day, you guys can all kind of reconvene and meet back up.
Yeah,
Okay.
so we can all head to the Silk
Okay.
Scabbard to get cane.
So he would see Kari happy.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
Kari would be like pretty much giggling, talking, Glass and her maybe like excitedly holding hands every now and then, and like snickering, and like almost like she was drunk, honestly.
Laz, this is an imposter. We must do away with it.
Oh no, it's her! I promise.
She sees you and her face dours immediately in that same kind of back and forth. But she does wink at you in a playful manner for the first time, like ever.
Oh my goodness.
I know the face thing. It's kind of disconcerting at first, but you get used to it.
I think she's been replaced.
Would you
She
like to
stares at her.
Okay, so
Yeah, right.
I don't remember. Do you guys recall which memory filter you had?
I
It's
just
in my
wrote down
notebook
memory
at
filter.
home.
Okay, I believe it was Youthful Joy. I don't remember if that's correct or not. So the way this works is, as an action, you can open the stopper and pour the contents of the file onto the ground, and you can affect a creature within 30 feet of you, your choice. If it's unwilling, it can make a wisdom saving throw to resist the effect. However, Youthful Joy, the target regains 3d8 plus 6 hit points and removes 1 level of exhaustion. And that is
now is not the time to crap out.
that is a one use.
Oh, wisdom.
However, the actual file can be reused if you find someone who knows how to distill a mortal memory into a memory filter.
So I can put it on the ground for 30 feet, save and throw wisdom, and they can regain 1 point of exhaustion, and you said 3d6 something?
3d8 plus 6 hit points. So it's an action. Yeah, an action. Pick a target within 30 feet. 3d8 plus 6 hit points and removes 1 level of exhaustion.
Nice.
And that's a one use.
So Shadow Pearl, memory filter, got it. That is amazing.
And I will remind you that you guys also had a little packet in a leather pouch. It was a sealed wax paper packet. And inside, I'm going to retcon the description a little bit because I found the entry that actually gives its description, which is a little counterintuitive to find. Inside is a very, very fine, granuled, almost fine-grained crystalline-like powder. Like, imagine extremely fine-grained sugar. However, this is very clearly not sugar. It has not a sweet smell. It has a very earthy, spicy kind of smell to it, and it is off-white and has kind of a gradient of color to it, ranging to sort of a drab tan with little tiny black flecks here and there.
What's
And
the
you guys-
Oh, like wizard sand. Cool.
Very cool.
I believe
what's
you guys
the-
had not quite figured out what it was. So
We
what's
had
the
not,
street
but
value
we,
of it?
if you're
Well-
looking for the street value on that, you're going to have to identify it first.
Yeah.
that was my question: is Glass could have identified this over the course of the day? Yeah.
So I
Yeah, I
don't
would've
believe
been
magical. Is it magical?
it is not specifically a magic item. No,
Does identify work on not magic?
no, it only
I don't
identifies
think
magic.
so.
If
Yeah.
I attempt to taste it, does it taste good or bad?
Are you? So you're gonna
I put
like
I put like a teeny
wet-
tiny little bit
you're
on my
gonna-
finger and like
yeah,
lick
you're gonna wet your pinky and dab it
Yeah,
and rub
exactly,
some.
yep.
See what happens?
Give it
Yeah,
a
fantastic.
Yep.
All right.
it. Not the brightest.
Has a very it tastes very much like it smells. It has this spicy overtone to it with a very earthy, you would say almost it reminds you of, the very earthy kind of rich taste of a mushroom. Like, imagine a dried mushroom, but with a very spicy overtone. It's not exactly pleasant to taste, but it's not vile either. So, could be worse.
I don't know if this.
I think we had you guys make some intelligence checks way back, and nobody pinged high enough to know what this stuff
we
was.
blew those. I remember that. Like, yeah. It
Yep.
just was,
Yeah, I don't know.
I think I tried to taste it back then too, didn't I?
I don't remember.
think
Back then,
you
I
did.
described it as almost.
I think I
Back
did.
then, I described it as almost like putty. So I don't know if you did.
Yeah, you did. It was like you licked the putty.
Yeah, I licked the putty. Yeah, I'm such an idiot.
So sorry. This
but
is not putty. Very very fine-grained crystalline powder, like almost like
Nice.
tiny sugar granules.
I'm sad
Anyway,
at how predictable
so
I am.
those are things you have. And Kane, you would know that if this is something that it was kept in it was very carefully sealed and kept. So clearly the fellow that you slew who had this thing valued it highly. Perhaps it's some sort of rare spell component. Perhaps it's some other kind of esoteric or valuable thing. If it is along those lines, you might be able to find someone in the cartways who can tell you what it is, because they deal in frickin' everything.
Yeah, I will, like... Kane basically looks at it, ponders it for a moment, and then in that stereotypical Kane fashion, shrugs and says,
I know a guy.
Cool.
All right, so if you guys want, we can move forward to the evening if you have nothing else you want to do to prepare it.
So, Cloak, do you want to keep the Shadow Pearl, or do you want me to keep it? Because I could use that to throw and cast a spell, right? I can throw this pearl and could use it basically to cast a spell.
I feel pretty happy about you hanging on to it, honestly. Even the sand, to tell you the truth. So you take the Shadow Pearl, the memory filter, and the sand.
so someone would potentially need to be close to it. Here's what I'm thinking. Glaz, like, if Glaz has it, it's not the greatest of range on it, so it's got to be close to people, and I'm just figuring if the enemies are going to be anywhere, they're going to be close to Glaz, because Glaz will just, like, walk into the middle of them, like, what are we talking about? Okay, we'll all have conversation.
Yeah,
So, yeah,
pretty
I
much.
feel like, yeah.
It's pretty much on brand.
Okay. Oh, yeah. Fair. That's fair.
Okay,
So I have the Shadow Pearl. The drugs, and the vial.
He's just the mule.
yeah, I'm...
Hey,
Oh, he definitely is. Because just like he can blag the "I didn't know what it was, officer." I swear, because everyone will believe that he has no
I
idea.
had no idea.
I'm gonna.
So yeah, if you want to look up the compulsion spell,
Yep,
Tall Squall,
I
you
will,
can check that out to see what the Shadow Pearl does. And
So,
remember that additionally, it creates dim light within 30 feet of the pearl while it's active.
So while that's all going on, Kane will essentially not like Kane very calmly and methodically does simple stuff like cut nicks into his arrowheads to sort of make them a little bit more unpleasant, and he just goes through like a ritual, like sharpening his blades and all the stereotypical equivalent of everyone cocking and getting as many loud noises out of their guns as possible before an extensive thing. But as he goes through a very meticulous preparation, he will turn to everyone and say,
Remember, we need him alive.
Okay. So, if you guys are ready, you can head out. Oh man, have we? Do we seem to have lost McCloakin again?
Oh no, he's there.
He's
I
just-
think.
This is not what Can did.
Oh, we have.
He's gone, I think.
He's
Why
frozen.
does he always pick the best frozen faces, though? Like, you never see
Telling
him
you.
like
Yeah. That's that's how I would be.
His freeze frame is real. Yeah.
Where precisely are we going? Ari is
So-
just pretty much following Glaz in everything because that is who she has been told to work with. She kind of really doesn't give a fuck about the rest of you right now because Glaz is the key to figuring out the Shadow Road.
So Kane will bring you up to speed as you weren't there for his drunken revelations, and he will he'll turn to Carrie and say,
We have a hunt.
She kind of gives you a little up and down look. Like, okay.
He's like completely, from last night being drunken and a mess and overly aggressive, now he's completely cold and methodical, and he says,
Van Dessian Floric, leader of the Black Shields. The ones in the God.
Not a nice guy, by all accounts.
And you had thought it particularly wise before we went hunting to cause such a ruckus? I say, gathering both of the damn fear in my eyes with a little bit of an accusatory glance. You're always complaining about Glaz not being a stealthy one, but you're going around and causing shit.
like, he looks at Carrie like a little confused for a moment, and then tentatively sort of says,
You don't have any pre-hunt rituals.
I am always on the hunt.
There's no such thing as pre-hunts. There's no such thing as post-hunt.
You mean before I was born? Because yeah.
All right.
And yeah, I guess we'll head off.
Okay. So you know roughly where you need to be going. Thankfully, between having dealt with the Cartway's black market before, not recently, before your time under the mountain, but you also confirmed with Black Eye, the Kobold coachman, that the entrances that you knew to the black market are still valid, and you can find your way there.
I imagine like what.
Yeah, go ahead.
From my understanding, like when we get there, like nothing's going to be in the same place, but there's only certain amount of places you can hide an entrance.
Oh yeah, sure. Yeah. And you know, it's possible that the black market might have moved locations every now and then, but you, as far as you understand, you have a beat on where it is, so you should be able to get there without too much trouble. So, Kane leads you guys to basically an old warehouse in Lower Zobek, and inside the warehouse, it looks pretty abandoned. It's kind of in a nastier part of town where some of the buildings have gone to seed and haven't really been picked back up by anyone and have started to deteriorate a little bit. In this warehouse, you find yourselves to almost like an office area, where if this were a working concern that was housing freight for various merchants or whatever, this is where sort of the administration would happen. You find a door to a very cramped brick stairwell with kind of a arched vaulted ceiling leading down into the infamous cartways that you guys have had some experience with in recent times. You lead the way down into these sort of dank corridors that crisscross all beneath Zobek. In some cases, even managing to cross under the rivers and connecting different districts of the town together. Although those crossings are rare and somewhat dangerous if they ever get in disrepair. It's not unheard of for such things to flood, and unfortunate results can arise from that. So you lead them down into the cartways, and you follow a combination of memory and the directions that you got from Black Eye. You paid him well for his services, and it looks like he gave you good information. You guys are sort of on alert as you're passing through these tunnels. As the last time you were down here, you fought, human cutthroats, you fought strange cultists, and that figure swathed in white linen that spoke words that seemed to try and undo reality around it.
Mage armor.
Jay, do you have something? Mage armor. Oh yeah, sure. No. So he kind of stops, looks around, picks up a piece of boiled leather, whispers a word, and then there's a blue shimmer around him as the force sets into place around his skin.
I try to poke Glaz just for a second to see if it does anything afterwards.
Zit, zit.
Yeah. You poke at him, and you can feel a little bit of there's kind of like a reactive pushback when you poke at him, and you see a little shimmer in the air around him. He's got a little force field. All right,
I'm
so
not
you guys continue on the way, and you take a particular series of turns, and you can see light up ahead, bright torchlight. And as you continue, you find yourselves coming to what looks like a gate, an enormous iron portcullis, and you can see that it is raised, and standing on either side are two guards. They are, quite frankly, kind of sorry looking. They're both humans, both human men. One is just sort of leaning up against the wall, and he has a spear just like held in his crossed arms, and he's just looking around, kind of bored. And he notes you guys coming because the corridor that you're in is brightly lit, and he just sort of gives a low whistle to his buddy, who looks over and kind of perks up a little bit. But I mean, they're wearing armor, but they're not wearing it very confidently or very comfortably, and it's just sort of like, really? Like these are the guys who are going to protect the black market? Okay. And you can just hear noise echoing down the tunnel towards you. You can hear just voices over voices, kind of overlapping and blending and just reverberating down this stone causeway.
I look to Glaz, waiting for him to open his mouth, as he always does.
No, Glaz is actually deferring to down here. Glaz would defer to Kane, even in his curiosity, especially because these guys look kind of shabby.
Oh yeah.
I do not think that they ever want to talk to me.
I will always want to talk to you, Glaz.
Oh, aren't you nice?
Kane is going to...
because I need you.
Kane is going to head forward and see if they sort of step in his way.
They do not. As you approach, they kind of eye you a little bit, and they note sort of your weapons and the way you're carrying yourself. They don't seem particularly surprised or put out. They just kind of note your presence and just sort of look over at everyone else, and their gaze, you can feel their gaze kind of sweep lazily across all of you.
Can I run a quick perception check to see if I noticed any additional security down here?
Sure.
Other than the obvious sort of guys on the gate?
Sure. Go ahead. Make me a wisdom perception check.
Or if things just gone back in my day, wouldn't have any of this.
By the way, I'm back.
Oh, hey,
Hello.
welcome back.
Hey, the internet guy started testing our internet and then dropped our call without really telling us. So it's still shit. So, but I shouldn't be dropped anymore.
All right, wonderful. I don't know if you caught the description, but you guys are down in the cartways. You are approaching down a torch-lighted tunnel into a large iron portcullis gate that is raised and open with two very shabby, sorry, sad-looking human male guards kind of watching you guys. And you know that the black market lies beyond, and you can just hear voices and sound kind of reverberating out. There's, imagine an underground marketplace or a busy subway station. That's kind of what's echoing out to you.
Okay. The only thing I would do in that moment when we're going to the black market and on the way to the black market is that I would have tugged on Glass's cloak and been tell him come down a little bit. And I was like, when we go to this place, don't tell anyone you've been there.
All right, nods.
Okay.
No one at the Hedgehog, no one at the library, no one at the Collegium, because they may arrest you.
I look at Glaz and seeing the alien nature of it all. I point to the entranceway before we go down and say,
it's like the restricted section.
And
holy shit!
Holy shit!
Madmorph is the host. Holy shit! Welcome in, everybody. We got some Morphy love there in the chat. Madmorph is on the Cast of Encounter roleplay this season, starting this Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern. The 400 people host. Holy mackerel! Welcome in, everybody.
Wow!
Thanks so much for joining in.
Hello,
Follow the stream definitely hit the follow button because this Thursday, Morph is going to be with us for the City of Mist.
And I look like shit, and I'm in a hotel, and they're hosting me.
There we go.
Is that the one Meta wrote?
Yeah,
The
yeah.
King's
Meta's,
Hustle?
the MC
Ooh,
of
nice.
King's Hustle, Thursdays at 8.
I've been I see the work in action when that's written, so I'm just like, there's been a lot of heist movies, and I love it.
Love it. Welcome in, folks. Play some D&D.
All right. So how did you do on that there perception check, Kane? You got an
I
11?
got an 11, yeah.
Okay. So you do not notice any other imminent security sort of in this area, but you also know that there are 4 other main entrants into the Cartways Black Market.
Okay.
Sorry, 3 others, 4 total.
Yeah, 4 total. Okay, right. In which case, yeah, I'll head down there.
So it's
And,
possible you guys are coming in the low security section.
Okay, all right.
Because you certainly
So-
remember that this is not a place that you want to start trouble.
Puff Puff is with Miss Kettlebottom.
Kettle whistle. And yes, all right, so
Kettle
you left
whistle,
Puff Puff.
yes.
Okay.
Every time. Every time.
Kettle bottom girls.
I'm not taking-
I had to. I'm sorry. I'm done.
I don't. I'm terrible with names. I do it all the time.
Okay.
I'm not taking a blink dog to the fucking black market.
Yeah, don't
Sure
do
enough.
that.
Why do you
Fair
keep
enough.
calling her kettle bottom? She has wide hips, but that is not her fault.
That's whatever. Kettle pot.
And those hips
All
don't
right,
lie.
Whistle.
So you guys pass.
Okay.
You guys pass through the open portcullis into the Cartways Black Market. So the Black Market itself is kind of just a long vaulted gallery. It's punctuated with these enormous support columns that are probably 10 feet on a side that go up to this vaulted ceiling. So if you think like one of the like old time New York subway stations, sort of like the one in Ghostbusters 2 that they break down into, where there's the river of slime. Imagine the like brickwork and those vaulted sort of buttressed ceilings, and so that's kind of what you're dealing with here. Now it's all run down, it's grimy, it's dirty, but it's kept clear, and there are just people along both sides of the gallery. Are tents and stalls and vendors set up, and they're shouting and hawking their wares, and there are people with porters and bags of all walks of life. A great many of them are just shady as hell. You see people walking with hoods pulled low so that no one can see their face. You see people who look like they must be part of a noble family, just walking sort of haughtily like they own the place. Like, who cares if anyone sees me here? What are you going to do about it? Scum. And you see just kind of everything in between. In the sort of central area of the gallery, the thing that kind of dominates the entire black market as a centerpiece is the slave block and slave pens. There is a raised stage where they indeed buy and sell living people. And you are not surprised, Kane, but other people might be, to see that up on the stage, the raised stage right now, is a person who at a distance might pass for human, but as you pay any sort of reasonable attention to him, you can tell that he is most definitely not human, at least not anymore. He is sporting the pallor of undeath, and the way he moves is just a little bit off. Like his joints don't work quite right. Like there's a little hitch in them, and he's wearing this black robe over armor that you can't really get a good look at. And his head is bald or shaved. His eyes are kind of sunken into their sockets, and his mouth is too wide. The grin kind of goes up a little too far, and you can see just rows of needle-sharp teeth behind his pale, drawn lips, and a long, lashing tongue. The tip kind of snakes out past his teeth and just sort of laps at his lips between his orders that he barks out to these thickly muscled guards, other Darakul, civilized ghouls like himself, as well as human and dwarf sort of thugs following his directions, and they seem to be moving some slave stock off of the raised stage back into some pens back behind there. So yeah, there is an undead Darakul up there who seems to be running things. And as you recall, Kane, This guy, you remember him. So he was here the last time you were here.
Oh.
So he's been here for quite a while, which means that he's probably not somebody to be screwed with.
Okay, yeah. So, like, I'll take this in, realizing that, you know, there's some old faces are still around, and it's nice to see that the place...
A few.
Like, yeah, Kane kind of has that warm moment that so everyone else has kind of been to a place that, you know, is lovely, like the fuck house or the embassy, or... But this is Kane. Like, Kane walks in, and he's just like, honey, I'm home. Very happy to see, sort of maybe nodding to a few people he's worked with in the past, very discreetly. And I'm gonna sort of find my way through leading the party, and every now and again looking at Glaz and making it very clear that he needs to not be looking where he's looking right now. Like just like
to say, how quick does someone mark Glaz and just immediately start selling?
I don't know. Like how close attention are you paying to the vendors? How are you getting right up on them? There are people selling,
and it's you described as with tents and all sorts of people and lots of things.
Glaz's hand. Sure. I am now going to enact the hand-holding Glaz procedure.
All right, so Kari grabs a hold of Glaz and reins him in.
Yeah, kind of like how you feel like with the parents with the leashes on the children, like
yeah.
Cloak would like be jumping up next to him, like shooing people, like no, go. All
right. So a couple of other things you notice. There are indeed more security the closer in you get. There are raised wooden platforms, most often near those central support pillars that run the entire length of this gallery, and they're sort of they're like raised guard towers. And you can see that there are more solid, professional-looking soldier types up on those. And those sort of run the gamut. And you even see several Darkul up there as well. And you can see that there are 2 gate entrances at either end of the gallery. You came in through one of them on the east side. There was another gate on the east side. There are 2 gates on the west side. And you can see that there are guards on each of them. And they seem to all be from different organizations, if that makes sense. It's like different groups that are at work here sort of put some of their people out to guard the various gates. So they're all kind of working together, and it's one group has full power. Yeah, exactly. You can smell food cooking. You see stalls selling almost like street food. Food trucks, for lack of a better period term. And you can see some more permanent structures down on the southern wall. There's a rather large pavilion that has like a sign shingle out over the open front flap entrance, and it shows a purse that's being sliced with a knife and coins are spilling out of it. That's not one that you recognize from your time. As well as near that, you see a little, like, kind of a ramshackle building built next to it with 2 small... You would have guessed dwarves at first, but they're a little too small, and their skin is this pale, pasty blue with this shock of white hair, and their eyes are too large and just pure white. And they're like going up to people who are wandering by, and they're like fawning at their clothes and arms and trying to like busk them into the building. And you can see sort of leaning out of the doorway is a young woman. She would, from this distance, looks human. She is not particularly clean or healthy looking, and she has kind of a affected sort of lascivious leer that she is addressing to the people that these little dwarf creatures are trying to beckon in. And she is very scantily clad, and you can see some bruises on her arm.
Would I don't think I'm in the right area, but I remember this very, very clearly. Would this potential... I'm guessing not after that last bit of description, but these guys wouldn't happen to be hairdressers, would they? Which sounds really bizarre to anyone.
They are not. No, they are. Okay. You're thinking they might be the barbers?
Yeah.
They are not. No, they are not gnomes. They look like stunted dwarves, but they're wearing these black robes, and you can see one of them as they kind of like reach out and tug at someone before they get shooed away. You can see along their forearm, are these just crisscrossed, almost like railroad track of old scars and fresh scabs.
They're edgelords.
Okay, yeah. So as we're walking through, like, I imagine Kane is giving Carrie like the lowdown of where things are. I imagine Reardon's probably been here once or twice with me. I just imagine like dragging him
They're
down
very good
here
quality. It depends what you buy. You get what you pay for with this.
Yeah. I like the idea, like, on Reardon's crazy nights out, eventually, like, he pushes it too far and Kane's like, we're going to the black market. And, like, Kane takes it up a level, uncomfortably so.
Right.
Yeah.
So there's all kinds of stuff here. Like, I mean, imagine something that somebody might be selling illegally. It's down here. I mean, all the way up to including flesh in the sense of prostitution, which is probably what's going on over at that little ramshackle hut, as well as flesh in the sense of actual slaves. And the fact that Darakul seemed to be running the slave auction is a little bit spine-chilling, because you can probably guess what happens when slaves get sold to a ghoul enclave.
Yeah. I'd kind of like to suggest the most terrible idea of splitting the party ever so slightly, just for a couple of minutes, because I'm thinking,
if you split the party in the black market, I want one Dampier with Glaz and I. If the two of you break up, I'm okay with splitting the party, but if you leave me and Glaz and Cloak on our own down here, I'm gonna be pissed.
No. I was actually gonna say Reardon, Glaz, and Carrie go and see if you can get that powder identified. Can I use my talent of Zone Scout?
I don't know about having somebody identify something in the black market.
Okay, so you want to find
worth a lot of money.
What do you suspect the powder is?
I think it's a spice.
I think it's cocaine.
I think it's a component.
Read up cocaine.
Human people spice.
I think it's a magical component.
I'm not taking any guesses because it's probably to do with magic or something, and I don't get a
like what do you want to? You can use your Zobek, basically your primeval awareness, with your pulse of the city, but you need to kind of give me a category of what you're looking for.
No.
So are you looking for?
Where is gold on the Fantasy Grounds character sheet? Sorry, I'm having issues finding it.
It's your inventory.
Inventory, okay.
No, you don't.
I keep track because I still haven't figured out the Fantasy Grounds one, so
Okay.
I keep track.
Kari has no gold apparently, which makes sense because she hates gold anyway.
That doesn't make sense. You guys
No,
divided up.
you should have gold.
Didn't you? Yeah.
Oh,
Well, figured out.
I have the 20 gems. I know that I have 20 gems of 50 GP value that I hid from the party. Sorry.
We've
about
been
that, guys.
splitting the gold evenly, so.
Yeah, but I kept the gems for myself because I like gems more than I like gold.
Okay.
Right, and I kept that secret.
Right, and I lied to everyone. Damn. I think so. What? Yeah, I'll put it to the party that, as I mentioned, I know a guy. He's down here. We could take him a taste, as it were. And you guys, I'm thinking, Reardon, Glaz, and Carrie, go see my guy, see if you can identify what this thing is, and me and Cloak, see if we can get a bead on where Frick is. Frick. I got his name right. Frick.
The twin brother.
So are you?
I will leave
Are
you down.
you? Yeah. So what are you
Tell you
looking
to
for?
adopt.
Are you gonna try to use your primeval awareness to locate somebody who can tell you something about this stuff?
Yes. I'm
Are you
Can
gonna
I
look for?
give him? I'm gonna give Payne just a little bit of the substance so that people think that he has it on him instead of Kari having it on her.
I was.
All right, so you wanna kind of open the pouch and give him a little pinch of it, or
Yeah, something like that. So that like. I don't know. Car's very concerned about getting jumped in the black market
Well,
for any valuables.
How about I take the actual pouch and you take the taste and go see my guy? Because that way you don't have the full lot on you.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Kari is a shrewd negotiator.
And
so if you're remembering correctly, Kane, there used to be a kind of an operator down here, a guy who was sort of into everything, but not necessarily directly affiliated with anyone officially, but you suspect some unofficial connections. It's another Darakul. He didn't deal directly with the guy running the slave market, but he seemed to be kind of the go-to to find whatever you need. If he didn't have it, he maybe knew where to get it. And that guy's name was Radu. So if he's still around, that would be maybe your best bet for getting your bearings.
Okay, I'll try and make introductions. So I'll find someone who probably one of the guards, one of the Darkwood guards, and I'll approach one of them. And
okay, sure. So you approach this Darakul woman, and unlike the slovenly, just sort of sad sacks that you saw on the entrance portcullis when you guys came in, she is standing ramrod straight, and she is wearing this armor that is kind of like it looks almost like Roman segmentum armor. And it has a helmet with sort of these heavy side pieces and a plume, like a comb plume running down the back. And she has a short sword belted at her hip and a halberd held in her hand, like an honest-to-God frickin' halberd. And she sort of snaps her beady eyes over to you as you approach. And you can't really tell if it's a smile or a sneer, but something happens to her face. And the tip of her long, round, snake-like tongue kind of darts over her lower lip as you approach.
I completely. I'm used to dealing with these guys. They're the bark is worse than a bite. I tell you. Did you see these needle-sharp teeth?
Sure, it is.
Horrible. Yeah.
Sure, it is. There's somebody who's never contracted Darakul fever.
Yeah. And I say. What was his name?
Radu.
Radu.
I'm looking for Radu.
Her eyebrows, what's sort of left of them, kind of the muscles above her eyes, sort of lift a little when she hears the grate of your voice. And she says, well, you're an interesting one. You're looking for Radu. She considers you for a moment, kind of looks you up and down, and then sort of juts her kind of bony, pointed chin over toward the northern row of stalls and says, you'll find him over there at the open cafe, looking for something to, and she kind of leers at you again, eat.
He weighs her up and...
So you kind of... you kind of size her up, and you get the feeling that she's a legionnaire. She's one of the Darakul Imperium Legion.
Okay, in which case, yeah,
Done.
yeah. So these guys ain't fun.
No, not so much.
No. And I there's a moment. I'm gonna shoot a glance to Reardon because Reardon has a bad history with ghouls. From what I remember from your origin, you had a pretty nasty encounter with...
Not such a fan myself. I can kill her soon.
Who's with who right now?
We're all together. I'm gonna go into...
Everybody's all together. He kind of peeled off to go talk to... He kind of peeled off to go talk to that ghoul woman with the arsenal, and everybody... I mean, you could go up with him if you want, but I feel like he kind of approached her sort of on his own, but isn't leaving you guys behind.
I'm listening to everyone and making sure Glaz isn't buying weird things.
So it's like Kari's got a hold of Glaz's wrist, and Cloak is just sort of orbiting, pushing people away if they mark Glaz as a sucker.
The only
come up and
time
try to
that
fleece him.
Cloak and Kari have ever worked in tandem when it's protecting Glaz.
All right, so you growl at her, Kane, and your gravelly grate depends what's on the menu, and she just kind of laughs at that.
And leaving this sort of flirtatious thing behind, Kane sort of like gives her a salacious look for a moment, and then I will return and shoot them over towards the cafe.
So he comes back over to you guys, and you can see the ghoul legionnaire woman just sort of watching his back as he heads over to you, and until she finally tears her eyes away and goes back to what she was supposed to be doing.
Having fun.
I completely ignore Reardon because I know this is going to be we're going to have to talk about this later. This is going to be a whole span.
It's one of those things where it's like, yeah. I'm like, do you think she's pretty? And you know that if you answer anything, like it's just bad, just don't involve, just don't engage.
Don't encourage him. Do not beat him.
Yeah. I'm just happy to come back and not see Glaz wearing a cheap leather jacket and with 4 lighters and a marijuana lollipop in his hand. Like it's all good as far as I'm concerned. And I'm
success.
I turn and start heading towards, and I will mention
There's a cafe around the corner.
Okay, so you head over to that area, and you can see that there are just kobolds scurrying about everywhere in this area, and you can smell the food cooking, and you see that they are bringing out what looks like fresh, steaming hot stew, and they're serving it in what looks like mushroom caps that have kind of been hollowed out, that are being served almost like, think the equivalent of a bread bowl. And they're bringing that out to people.
Kari, for the first time on the surface, actually looks at food like it might be good, and lets go of Glaz's hand for a second.
What color? What color are the mushrooms?
Well, it looks like they've been cooked at least somewhat. So they have kind of this like a dark tan sort of deal going on with them. Like, imagine if they were large, like bigger, kind of rounder portobello mushrooms that had all the gills and stuff scooped out.
I'm already making an actual recipe for this in my head. Yeah. This is a great idea. I love it.
Just because I want to get this jab in, I look at it and I look at Cloak, and I'm like,
Yes, you and the kobolds have more in common than you thought.
From before the break, I want to use a nat 20 for Glaz to get a bowl of soup.
Okay. Yeah.
A sleight of hand.
Goes up.
I want to use a nat 20 to sleight of hand for him to buy that. As Kari dropped my hand, it wasn't 2 seconds later. Glaz has bought something.
Yeah.
All right. So the second she lets go, bang, Glaz is gone. It's like trying to take a toddler out to do anything. You take your eyes off him for a second, and where the hell, right? And so you finally find him, and he's over. You track down one of the kobolds that has like, like the little half aprons that a server would wear. It has one of those kind of slung over its shoulder like a bandolier, and you can hear some coins jingling in the pouch of the apron. And you kind of flag the kobold down, and she stops and yes. What's around? What?
What are those? Soup, quick, before they get to me again.
And she kind of scurries off and comes back with a like really quickly. It's very quick, very efficient. It seems kind of chaotic that these kobolds are just sort of underfoot and everywhere, but they just glide around everyone, between tables, around patrons, sometimes between people's legs as they step, and they're just moving like clockwork. And she comes back with a fresh, steaming hot bowl of soup in a mushroom cap.
How much do I owe for it?
Yes, 3 copper.
3 copper?
Mm-hmm.
He gives her the 3 copper, and here's the question.
Sure.
How much does he lose on top of that with having pulled out his money pouch down here?
Everything right now seems fine.
Everything's okay?
Right
okay.
Now seems
fine.
Just check
Glass
we'll
does not know not to just take out his pouch and pay.
We'll check in later. That's fine. Yeah, you pay for it. You've got a really kind of scrumptious smelling stew. There's meat and root vegetables, and looks like you would guess beef broth. You're not really sure.
Cool.
I look like I'm about to be mad at Glass, and then I'm like, I want to try it.
Yeah, anybody who wants to get food, you can. The kobolds serve you quickly and efficiently, and the food is, it's not delicious, but it's good. It's good.
Okay.
Totally worth burning the nat 24.
Dude. Food.
As Kane makes that quip at him and be like, well,
we
the
haven't
girlfriend
dropped
over
that.
there doesn't want to bite me back, so...
Hey, I shrug and just like,
What's wrong with a girl who bites?
I don't know, let's go ask your brother.
remembering that, like, I'm gonna cuff him around the ear, and I'm gonna try and find this contact.
It looks like
Okay,
we all got there. Hey.
So yeah, everybody. So whoever's eating stew at the Kobold Cafe, raise your hand for me, just so I can see who's eating. Kari, Glaz, obviously. Anybody else? No. Okay. Good.
No.
All right.
kobolds.
So that's fine. You get a couple of looks, Cloak, but actually nothing in the way of the animosity that maybe you expected coming down here. It's actually a little off-putting that they're being so neutral towards you. You could all see his eyes narrow behind the dragon mask.
Yeah, they might also not know I'm a gnome, too, so...
They can smell it on you.
Racist.
If you want to try and disguise what you are, you can make me a deception check and see how well you do. Oh, thank you.
That's a magic item and a crit success for Glaz.
Oh, a magic item and a crit success. Ooh, nice. I will make a note. Magic item for Glaz.
Cool. And I will put back my nat 20. Thank you so much.
I will, I'll roll a deception, and it's not going to be like I'm trying to disguise myself something else. I'm just trying to hide my features.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. There we go. 17.
Okay, very good. That is plenty to... So you don't even get any looks, really. Perhaps you're a halfling, perhaps with the draconic mask you kind of make yourself even maybe look koboldish, with the draconic features of the mask kind of covering yourself. So you're able to you're able to kind of hide your gnome vibes and at least keep kind of to the background so you don't draw any animosity or ire. So Kari and Glaz are kind of like eating their fair stew. And it's good. It's tasty. You're very pleased with your purchase. Kane, scanning the crowd, sort of sitting around the cafe, you spot one table that is not only occupied by one person. There's also just a little bit of an area around it where it looks like maybe the tables have been scooted just a little bit away, and you see a fellow wearing a just kind of really beautiful finery. Imagine like sort of a well-to-do merchant, right? So he has this sort of purple velvet robe with this soft fur trim lining it. He has a gold chain around his neck with a little glittering gemstone medallion, and his pale, almost ashen gray fingers that are knobby and shriveled with little claw nails on the end are decorated with rings that glitter gold and silver with various glints of light from the gemstones set in them. And he's leaning back, and he is holding basically, imagine like a cigarette stem with a little rolled bit of paper and something lazily burning in the end of it. And he's just sort of staring up toward the ceiling, and he takes a slow drag off of it and blows a smoke ring that lazily drifts up over the cafe. And that's a familiar face. That's him.
Okay. I'm gonna go. Is he sat at a table with people, or is he on his own?
He is alone. No, he's at his own table.
I will walk over and I will pull up a chair, not offering or explaining to anyone what is acceptable, what the code of conduct is, or anything like that. I will just pull up a chair, sort of lean easily and comfortably and fix him with a smile with plenty of teeth. But sort of like, it's been a while. I haven't seen him. It's a friendly-ish smile.
So you think this is somebody that you kind of dealt with before, that you would...
I imagine, like, not extensively, but I feel like we probably, I probably used his contacts. It's not him you really deal with, is it? So he's the middleman.
So you sit down and flash him a smile, and he kind of straightens up a little bit and leans a little bit forward in kind of an intrigued air about him. And he smiles, but he doesn't like peel his lips back from his ghoul teeth like they're sort of known for doing. Yeah. And he looks at you, and he seems to be about to say something, but then he points the cigarette stem at you. His eyes kind of narrow, and he says, You seem familiar to me, but I cannot place this. Who are you, friend?
You're getting old.
It happens to the best of us. But please, I fear we have met sometime in the past. I apologize for not remembering your name.
It's Kane.
There's a faint glimmer of recognition. He goes, this is a name that I know. It has been a long time. I heard you were dead, and I am pleased to see this is not the case. As I'm sure you no doubt know, I am Radu Underhill.
He nods and says,
Not dead. Just buried under a mountain.
He takes your meaning immediately and goes, yes, of course. Well, welcome back to the air of freedom.
I have come across something interesting. Something that eludes me.
Excellent.
and
He kind of leans forward, interested.
yeah, like I guess to be honest, like if we were going ahead with this, I imagine like I'd probably ended up with the taste as opposed to the full sort of load of it. If I'm going to be the one sort of talking, and I'll show him sort of like a sample.
Okay, so he holds out his hand, and his fingers like unroll as he reaches out toward the
Slightly
sample,
too long,
and
very
he takes
bony.
it. Yeah, and like talons, and you can see that his fingernail claws are very meticulously cleaned and polished. So unlike most ghouls that might have shreds of old flesh and dried blood, he is immaculate. And he takes the sample and he looks at it, and he lets out this low whistle that doesn't seem possible with his sort of dry, shriveled lips, but he manages it somehow. Do you know what this is, friend? He kind of looks at you and his eyes widen for a second.
He gives him a curious look and says,
I know who to come to find out.
He sort of inclines his head at the compliment and the respect, and he says, this, and he hands it back to you, this is called Requiem.
would I know the name?
You've heard of Requiem? You know that it is a very rare drug out of the 7 cities, and you know that it's got a very dark reputation. It's highly addictive, very valuable, but supposedly also has some near mystical properties. He says, this is not only Requiem, this is refined Requiem, much more powerful than the Requiem clay that you might find. The street people and the would-be oracles and Camestraboli smoking in the Requiem dens, destroying their lives and their souls. This is very potent, very valuable, and very rare.
Carter.
If you were to smoke this, friend, you could call up the soul of one known to you who is departed. and ask, demand its secrets, its knowledge. But have care, friend Cain, for the Requiem may take hold of you, and it does not let go lightly.
Before anyone can respond, Cain is going to chime in.
How much would you need?
Because I've given him
you're
like
asking.
yeah, I've given him like a tiny
He looks
amount.
at that and he says, I am certain you have more. Perhaps a teaspoon's worth. And when he says that, he said that's probably about as much as you have. So it sounds like you have one dose of refined Requiem.
Yeah, Cain like shakes his head when he says "have more," and says,
It's not mine. Someone I was on the trail of. I found this at their place. Wanted to know what they were tangled up with.
Why don't you make me a deception check?
"Yeah, I don't have more of this at all. No, not even a little bit."
Sure. How you do? Nice.
That's an 18.
18, nice. Okay, so he just kind of nods and seems to accept you at your word, and he says, well, if you can conclude your hunt and find more, a dose of this would be worth perhaps 2,500 crowns.
Kari glares at all of you like, don't even fucking think about it.
I got in the wrong business.
He says, if you find more and are interested to sell rather than use, I can point you to someone. You will not, I think, acquire full value for it, for he is a dealer. And he sort of gestures towards one of the stalls on the other side of the hall. But he will purchase it with no questions and no risk.
Cain nods. Is he like...
So basically he's telling you if you want to sell it to this guy, he'll give you essentially a wholesaler's rate for it. He's not going to give you retail street value for it.
Yeah, no, of course. Is he eating or drinking anything?
His table is conspicuously empty.
Okay. In which case, I'll leave him like... Can I get a value of like a drink and buy him a drink in exchange?
Oh, sure.
Say thank you. And
oh, sure you can. Yeah.
Yeah.
He inclines his head gratefully when you do so.
And just as I stand, give him a slight half bow and say,
If I find it, you'll know.
And
he smiles at this point, and you do see just a faint hint of his interlocked needle-like teeth, and he says, then I wish you good hunting. I hope to see you again soon, friend Cain.
I give him a nod in thanks, and I'm going to turn and like herd the group away from this man now. Guys, you're making me look uncool.
As this conversation was
Cloud's
going on,
like slurps his soup.
I'm like eating the mushroom bowl at this point.
Yeah.
can Cloak perceive to see if anyone's watching Cain and this weird guy's conversation?
Sure. Go ahead. Make me a wisdom perception check.
Yeah, I just want to, because of the paranoia that Cloak has.
Sure. Oh yeah.
Let's see. 11.
Smoking that Requiem, man.
So I would say it looks like they catch some attention every now and then. Probably it seems like Radu is a known quantity to regulars of the black market. So it's sort of like, oh, who's Radu talking to? And then there's a mixture of, don't know that guy, or oh shit, and then they turn and go.
Okay, so yeah,
So it doesn't look like anyone's eavesdropping or that sort of thing. People notice because they're not exactly in private, but people just kind of either move on their way or conspicuously move on their way because they don't want attention from that table.
Okay.
Okay, in which case, I guess now we know what the hell we're packing. 2.5 grand's worth of good shit.
Yeah, of high quality, uncut
grade A drug.
Strawberry.
I called it.
That belongs to Kari. Sorry, guys, that was given to me by my emissary. I'm gonna use it to find out a boy.
No. That one did not come from the messenger. It came from the dude in the robe in the halls of the Everforge that was working for the dragon.
Yep.
All right, you guys can have everything else. Give me that so I can find out what happened to my emissary. Or my.
All right, so you guys have a description of Vandessian Thrick, and so you're going to kind of.
Crowns.
What's the plan? Is the plan to like fan out and keep an eye on him, or just kind of drift around as a whole looking for him?
I feel like fanning out would be a bad idea down here because that would mean we can't fan out because we can't leave Glaz or Cloak alone.
Okay.
Use Glaz as bait.
We could use Glaz as bait. He's
I'm
a
not even
big
joking.
piece of bait.
He is a big fucking target. Like.
All right. So you guys make your sort of rounds all the way throughout the black market, and again, you see all kinds of stuff down here. You see objects of art, treasure, strange coins. Glaz, you see something that absolutely looks like it might be of Ankashelian origin. There's a small creature you managed to figure out. It looks sort of like a goblin, but it's wearing almost what looks like, imagine desert robes, and it's sort of wrapped in bandages, and it's kind of like hunchbacked, and it pulls this cloth back on this strange artifact and is haggling with a sort of a shady-looking tiefling. As you guys are making the rounds, and they'll have to kind of drag you away from that scene, you guys eventually come to a series of tables that are near the slave market. And you see a sort of corpulent human fellow with dusky, dark brown skin, short cropped hair, and a very neatly trimmed mustache and goatee. And he has some people kind of clustered around him, and there are drinks on his table, and he's kind of keeping half an eye on the people that are being brought up onto the slave market. And there have been auctions happening with barkers calling out, people bidding, and slaves, just bedraggled, miserable looking people being taken in chains and carted off to various people in various places. And you can kind of hear his boisterous voice as you get closer. Yes. No, that's wonderful, but I think I'm not interested at this time, of course. But if you come back next week, I'm sure I might have something for you. Thrick is the name, my dear. Vandessian Thrick, 2 Ks. Thank you. Yes, have a lovely evening. And he sort of claps this kind of rough, mercenary-looking woman's hand and sends her on her way and goes back into his tankard.
I look at Kane like this is the hunt. Okay.
I'd like to retcon something I said earlier when I said don't kill him. After hearing Dan's voice of it, we kill him. We kill him with a prejudice.
I looked at Kane. I was like, so since you guys related, do you spell Kane with 2 Ks?
Oh, Jesus. All right. So as you guys are kind of eyeballing the situation, seeing what's going on, you hear a sudden, almost like a gong note sound out through the tunnels, and that quiets people down. And the figure in armor with the black robe over it, the Darakul, who is up on the stage, lifts up a hand and says, "Friends and others," and a laugh kind of ripples throughout the black market. "I'm sure that some of you have been waiting for this, the main event of this evening, and I, your humble servant Dobrakar, will not keep you waiting any longer. Bring them forth." And there's a titter of excitement runs through the crowd that's gathered around the slave market, and one of the portcullises on the far end on the western wall that was closed begins to ratchet open. Guarding this gate, you can see more of those Darakul legionnaires. And there are figures in the darkened tunnel beyond. And you can see ghoul soldiers holding chains that are linked to these two figures that are standing in the shadows as the portcullis begins to raise, and your eyes widen at the silhouette that you can see in that shadowed tunnel. They are massive, maybe 6-7 feet tall if they stood upright but hunched forward a little bit. Their shoulders have shoulders, if you know what I'm talking about. They're incredibly broad. Just their muscles, you can see them strain and tighten against these shackles and manacles that are around their wrists, and they have a long, pale, like ash gray hair that's lank and greasy and hanging in front of their faces, and they begin to be dragged in and forced to march forward into the room. There are several of these figures, perhaps half a dozen of them, maybe a few more, and they're surrounded by ghoul soldiers that are prodding them forward with spears. And these figures with this pale, milky white skin with muscles just rippling beneath their waxy hide come into the light. And you can see these figures. You've never seen anything quite like them. Their eyes from underneath their lank hair are kind of set back into their skulls under heavy brow ridges with this pink sclera and deep red irises. Their jaws are heavy and jut forward with yellow tusks sticking up from behind their thick, waxy lips. And the group of them are being dragged toward the slave market. And Thrick kind of pounds the table and he says, This is the main event, my friends. This is what we're here for. Look at them. Look at them. I never thought to see any of the ghost folk in the flesh. And these things are being dragged forward. These thick, heavily muscled, brutish, savage-looking humanoids with long hair, these massive jaws and tusks. And there's several smaller ones behind this one in the middle, and they're just being dragged forward, and they growl with snarls as they're jabbed by the Darakul, and you can see that they're bleeding from many shallow wounds, and they're all just sort of keeping their hands and their shackles and chains close to their bellies and just sort of shuffling forward with this sullen hatred burning in their deep-set eyes. And I think that is where we're going to stop for this evening and pick up the slave auction as you decide how to approach your quarry next week, folks.
Damn.
Das.
We got some fucking drugs on us.
I think I know who those might be.
Yeah, I also think I might know.
Well, they're called the Ghost Folk, and there is mention of them in the Midgard World Book if you want to look it up.
Yep, there is.
Yep.
I have the
It'll be fine. It'll be fine, just like it always
Taking
is.
a few more notes.
Yes.
Holy moly.
All right,
Well, my
man,
friends.
guys, I am super excited that we got back into it. 2 weeks off, life happens.
Yeah.
What can you do? I'm really glad to be back at it.
Yes.
drugs.
A
Apparently,
month for
lots
me.
of drugs.
That was awesome. Yeah, definitely. If you guys in the chat enjoyed it, let us know. Stick around. We've got the tabletop loot, 2 dice to give away, 2 sets of dice, not just 2 actual dice, to give away. And definitely check out Kobold Press for your own Midgard materials and games at koboldpress.com. Thank you for those guys for supporting and sponsoring the show. But let's go round real quick. In fact, while we do the going rounds, I'll open the giveaways. So all you have to do is put ! loot into the chats, and you'll be entered for a chance to win. Dan, great job tonight. How was that, my friend?
Thank you. I had a great time. Like I said, I'm super excited to be back into it. I've been missing it. I've been jonesing for it. I've been missing you guys in particular and all you lovely viewers out there. I'm so glad that we have so many new friends joining us with through the hosting and all that going on tonight. I'm really glad to have all you guys here. I hope you enjoyed it. I had a blast. I loved getting into Winter's Kiss and delving into some of the NPCs and setting of the black market and setting a few more things in motion. I'm looking forward to what's coming up.
Absolutely. Fantastic. Tia, great job tonight. Great to have the whole team back, including our good friend Carrie.
Yay!
What was that like?
I'm beyond pumped, getting a little bit more into the lore of the Shadow Fae, as that has been a huge draw to Midgard for me. Previously, I've been a Dark Elf lover, but when I first came across Midgard and the way that the Shadow Fae kind of works, it really has that hierarchy that I am just an absolute sucker for in medieval society, fantasy medieval society. And so getting that mission was really, really exciting. I also have missed the fuck out of this group, and I have been jonesing for D&D so hard, and I like it. Fuck Requiem, like D&D is a much better drug. It shouldn't be Dungeons and Dragons, it should be drugs and dollars. Like, that's what it is, D&D. But I had a great time, and I can't wait for next week already.
Absolutely. Fantastic stuff. And Toll School, how about yourself?
Oh, I have so much fun playing Glaz. He is just a blast, and thanks to everyone for letting me be a little bit crazy with him and sort of spoil the best laid plans of the party. But he is such a blast to play, and it's a great time. I love this group. I love Midgard. I've got my creature codex right here, fresh in the mail. Haven't even cracked it open yet, so I've got that to go through. Hot off the presses, quite literally. You can find me at Tall Squall all over social media for the other stuff that I do, and let people know. Go out and check out Midgard stuff and Cobalt Butt Press stuff. Everything they make is amazing.
Absolutely. Awesome. Thanks so much, Tall Squall. And McLogan.
Hello, I'm McLogan. Today I played a tiny person who was really shitty to everyone, because that's what he does. Yeah, I had a blast tonight. I was super happy to get everyone back together. The gang's back together, everyone. And we are in the black market. And once again, I love everyone's different dynamics when they go to the black market. Like, Cloakish is kind of like, I don't want to talk to anyone. Glass is, I want to talk to everyone. And Kari has become the mother of the group, protecting Glass from the evil black market people.
From himself.
It's been fantastic, and I loved it. I loved every second of it, and I don't know what ghost folk are, but I'm looking at the world book right now, and they didn't have a picture. I just kind of read up on them a little bit, and learning about the white goddess, and that they're basically inbred with deep orcs. So let's see what happens with that. Yeah, dude, it's crazy from what I read in the split second that I did. Yeah, you guys can find me over at mixer.com/storyquest. Tomorrow evening, we have our drinking episode of Chosen. It's episode 10 of season 2, and it's going to be pro wrestling themed, so I can't wait for that one.
Nice.
So I have drinking rules set up and everything, so it's going to be an insane time.
That sounds hype as fuck, actually.
Yeah, it's gonna be. I love pro wrestling, so I have some crazy characters that I'm gonna throw at them. But other than that, yeah. The only other thing I want to shout out is Thursday's here. I'm not gonna be on it, but Metamancer, she's been working on a City of Mist campaign called The King's Hustle. I firsthand got to see that. You guys are from Mad Morris Raid earlier. Please come here, join that show. I'm super excited because I'll be watching in the background. I love City of Mist. It's a fantastic setting, and watching what she's been putting into it, it's going to be a fantastic time. So, yeah, get here. That's it.
Be hype. It's gonna be hype. Awesome. Great stuff. Fantastic.
Oh, good
and
lord.
Josh.
Reeling from shock with that. It's been an absolute blast tonight, and it's a lot of fun to get to explore Zobek and its seedy underbelly. That's the one thing, like, when I was reading up about different places you can come from, Zobek is that kind of drifter's paradise where it's a real cultural melting pot. It's, for me, I think it's one of the best things about Midgard is having that place where you can shoot off in pretty much any direction. It's the crossroads after all. And getting to see the underside of that. And yeah, it was nice to be able to drag Reardon out of sort of like, oh yeah, no, I've been beating up people and me and the fuck house and everything, and just be like, let me introduce you to my world. Like, fucking come with me. I'll show you a real wild time. So yeah. And seeing Glaz, I just kept thinking like Glaz running through Camden Market in London, just buying absolutely everything that was pushed to him. And fuck you, McLogan. Fuck you. Just fuck you. But
It's like we're brothers.
It's like we're brothers.
Like twin brothers.
Twin brothers, indeed. Going
Looking
for eggs. Yeah. So I'm super excited to find out where things go, and I've changed my mind. I definitely want to kill this dickhead. He is a prick. I was right. Called it.
Good.
100%.
Awesome. Well, we'll see if we can make that happen next week, I guess. Let's go pick the winners for this giveaway. Oh, and my only little plug, I guess, is that tomorrow at 1 p.m. Eastern, we're doing our sort of debrief for Doors to Darkness, our year-long Call of Cthulhu campaign, and we're going to be talking about our new campaign, which is the Masks of Nyarlathotep as well, which starts next week on Wednesdays. So definitely join us for that. And then we've got our Warhammer Season 2 Session 0 at 4 p.m. Eastern with Jim Davis back in DMC. So join us for that and get a little insight into what we're doing. So that'd be great. Let's pick these winners. First winner is Babbo Fraser. Congratulations, my friend. And the second winner is Goran Wolf. Congrats, you guys.
Congratulations, you guys.
Yes! I'm going to contact you guys over Whisper tonight. And at the end of the week, I will Tabletop Loot will be sending you guys those dice. As a reminder, every single show this whole season on Encounter Roleplay, there's over 200 sets of dice to be won this season. So join in every game and be here at least at the end. And you can, got some dice, my friend. But that's all we've got time for tonight. We're going to go host and raid Sid because she's streaming some World of Warcraft. I'll probably jump on and play. Everyone else should come jump on and play with us as well. Good fun. And until next time. I know. Oh yeah. That sucks. But
one quick note before your outro. Sorry, we had a bunch of new people join in tonight, and I know that ERP has this great donation bits thing where you guys can actually interact and influence how things happen in the game. We had a couple of those tonight. Please rest assured, whenever those happen, I write them down. If I can't work them in that session, they're gonna get worked in. I just like to do it a little bit more. Less poof, a magic item falls out of the sky, and more work it into something that you guys actually find. So a little more organically, a little more integrated with the story. So if you guys do donate, thank you so much for helping out Encounter Roleplay. Please rest assured, I will not forget. Your bits will go to good use, and your stuff will happen. I've got notes; they go nowhere. It's going to happen. Trust me.
Awesome.
No, we only do things funny in the fame on Encounter Roleplay.
Amazing. Well, we'll see you guys next time. Enjoy the hosting raids and try not to roll too many net ones. We want to be here laughing when you do. Good night, everybody. Bye. Say hey to Sid for me. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.